This time, Amelia truly couldn't hold on any longer. Her body gave out, collapsing to the ground like a lifeless corpse. Half-lidded eyes followed Ethan's cold, retreating figure. Light rain fell, soaking her face, one side warm, the other cold. Tears mixed with rain, running into her mouth, bitter, salty, and metallic. So this is what it feels like when your heart dies. You don't feel pain anymore. It's like your senses have been frozen, dulled to numbness, like the lingering anesthesia after a major surgery. She used to think those dreams were heaven's way of warning her, a second chance to turn back, to love Ethan again. But now she realized they were punishment. Punishment for never knowing how to love in the first place. Ethan, did you ever love me? In our past life, 30 years of marriage, did you ever truly love me? Love is subjective. If you don't even know you're in love, how can the other person? Ethan was right. She was greedy. She wanted everything without giving anything. Greed is the root of all sins, and the greedy always end up with nothing. As her consciousness began to fade, someone walked toward her. It was the same group of people who had stood by, watching like it was a show. No one offered to help. Instead, they pulled out their phones to take pictures and record videos. Only after they had enough footage did someone finally call an ambulance. At the Mayo Clinic, Amelia was diagnosed with a stomach hemorrhage, something she had never experienced before, not in this life or the last. Her stomach had always been fine, or so she thought. Looking back, it wasn't that her body was strong. It was that Ethan had taken such good care of her. Young people rely too much on their stamina. They love spicy food, love eating cold things. And when you mix the two, it's fine at first. But over time, the damage builds. It starts as mild pain, but if left unchecked, it turns into something worse. Stomach pain feels like being stabbed with needles, sharp, twisting, sometimes nauseating, acidic. She was in so much pain from just a hemorrhage breaking out in cold sweat. But in their past life, Ethan had stomach cancer. How painful must that have been? Why didn't he tell her? He took such good care of her, but completely neglected himself. Maybe it wasn't neglect. Maybe he was just tired of living. Maybe he had already given up. Amelia curled up on her side, trying to relieve the pain. Tears fell from her left eye into her right, then vanished into the pillow. November often brought rain, and this winter was especially cold. Ethan searched his memory. He seemed to recall that it had even snowed this year. He rushed to Texas Roadhouse and called Victoria Harper. She had already reserved a private room. The restaurant was packed, but she had arrived early enough to claim a small booth. When Victoria Harper saw the raindrops in Ethan's hair, she asked, "Is it raining?" "Light rain. It probably won't last." She pulled a few napkins to wipe the water from his face and hair. Ethan obediently lowered his head as she dabbed at him. "Cold, baby," she said sweetly. The word baby almost melted his bones. He couldn't take it. "Don't call me that. But I love calling you that. And I'm not wrong. You are my most precious baby." Ethan felt flushed. People get awkward when they're embarrassed. They want to look busy. He fanned himself and glanced around at the ceiling. "Is the heat on? Are you cold?" Victoria had already taken off her scarf. She tossed the napkins aside, rose slightly on tiptoe, and wrapped her arms around his neck. "You're so warm. As long as I'm with you, I'm not cold at all." He thought she might ask about what Amelia had said, but she didn't. She just kept teasing him, never bringing up Amelia, not even once. Was she waiting for him to speak first? The food had arrived. Victoria picked up a piece of tripe and glass noodles, Ethan's favorites, and placed it in his bowl. "Do you like it?" Ethan nodded. "It's delicious." A hot meal at Texas Roadhouse warmed him from the inside out. "Aren't you going to ask me," he finally said, "about the dream Amelia talked about?" Victoria laughed. "What's there to ask? Dreams aren't real. You're a grown man. You really want to play the emotion card with a dream? Isn't that kind of ridiculous? What if I told you everything she saw in her dream was real?" Ethan set down his chopsticks and looked at her quietly. She looked back at him, equally calm. He was the first to get nervous. Then Victoria reached out and touched his forehead. "You eat at Texas Roadhouse and get a fever? What nonsense are you talking about?" Ethan had no idea how to explain the past life. Just as he was about to speak, Victoria picked up a fresh piece of crispy pork and stuffed it into his mouth. "I don't care," she said. "I don't care about your past. I care about you. I care whether I'm part of your future. What about you? What do you care about?" "I care about you," he replied. "Same as you." "Then stop living in the past. The things that hurt you, they're not worth remembering over and over." The truth was, when Amelia talked about what had happened in the past life, it opened too many painful wounds. He thought he had forgotten, but he hadn't. He still remembered the stomach cancer, the burning agony from the crash, the heartbreak as life slipped away. He wasn't even sure anymore. Was he truly reborn, or had he like Amelia, just dreamed it all. But then he saw Victoria Harper. The way she instantly worried about him getting wet in the rain. The way she pulled him close and called him baby. She held her tightly, breathing in the scent of her hair, and in that moment he felt real again, like he existed. Victoria hadn't asked anything. Maybe she already knew. She was smart like that. If Ethan had really come back from the dead, then it meant he'd died young in his last life. That wasn't a memory worth reliving. Asking him about it would be like tearing open a healing wound. Ethan suddenly hugged her tight. Victoria said nothing. She just gently patted his back. It felt like his soul had finally found peace, like a balloon drifting high, about to burst, only for someone to catch the string and bring it safely down. There's a saying, in this cold, indifferent world, you must cherish the one who's good to you. The world is so big. If someone treats you well, that's your pride. The human heart is so small. If someone can make room for you in theirs, that's your blessing. Victoria remembered everything Ethan liked, his taste in food, even his dietary restrictions. And Ethan remembered hers. After dinner, the rain had stopped. The two of them took a walk hand in hand. Victoria looked up at the dark sky. Do you think it'll snow this year? Do you like snow? Ethan asked, gazing at her softly lit profile beneath the street lamp. I do, she said. She didn't used to. Her mother had died on a snowy day. But now she did, because Ethan was with her. It wasn't the snow that took her mother. It was the people who had betrayed her. And those people, well, they were either dead or ruined now. What was there left to hate? Ethan interlocked their fingers. Then it will snow this year. The video of Ms. Harper kneeling on the street, begging Ethan for forgiveness, immediately went viral on Twitter trends. Many people tuned in to watch, and most of them mocked her. No one expected that someone who had once been so arrogant and prideful would one day kneel and beg a man, especially the very man she had once rejected when he tried to marry her. Where'd she been all this time? Right after her divorce, she went straight to Ethan, hoping to win back his love. But of course, the third wheel couple was the first to reject her. However, many people speculated that Harper Enterprises was in deep trouble. Perhaps Ms. Harper wasn't trying to be a third party, but was hoping to join the big family. After all, Victoria Harper was the boss of Yang Group. Victoria wouldn't help her little niece save Harper Enterprises, but she might lend a hand because of Ethan, if Ethan still cared about her. Unfortunately, even after Ms. Harper collapsed and vomited blood, Ethan never looked back, and in the end, she was sent to the Mayo Clinic by passersby. The video's popularity caused stock market fluctuations, with investors hurriedly dumping their shares to minimize losses and recover their money. When it became clear that the line to Victoria Harper was no longer viable, Benjamin Harper had to accept his fate. With his nod, the company began to liquidate its assets, selling off real estate. As for the Westbrook District plot, it was left on hold and eventually sold at a low price. The buyer was Ethan. The land, which was supposed to become the new city center, remained barren and desolate. After purchasing it, Ethan discarded the original plans of Harper Enterprises and turned it into a high-end resort, a place for food, fun, and luxury. No one knew the land beneath could be developed into natural hot springs. What was once a wasteland was transformed into valuable property, with top-notch services, a first-class setup, and an exclusive, hidden feel. Ethan snapped up Benjamin Harper's undervalued real estate, gleeful about his lucky finds. With the money he had earned from stock trading recently, purchasing these properties was a breeze. Harper Enterprises was completely shut down, and the entire group was supported only by Benjamin Harper. Once he fell, it was like the house lost its backbone and collapsed without any effort. This outcome was exactly what Ethan had expected. In just 1 month, Ms. Harper had experienced a dramatic rise and fall, watching as the place she had lived in since childhood was taken from her. She had moved everything she could, but even the flowers in the yard were trampled and gone. Standing in the empty living room, she heard her voice echo. After living there for so long, she finally realized how big the house really was. All the decorations were gone, and even the chairs were taken. The place felt vast and strange. People were walking in and out of the house as she walked through them, from the downstairs to the upstairs, visiting every room. She remembered how, as a child, she loved sliding down the handrail in the stairwell. Her father had warned her many times that it was unsafe, but she didn't listen, sneaking to do it anyway. Then one day, she fell and cried from the pain. From then on, she never dared to slide down again. She had never learned to be obedient, never listened to good advice, and had to suffer the consequences before she would learn. The same went for her treatment of people. She walked up to the second-floor balcony, recalling how she used to do her homework there, enjoying the breeze. Looking down, she could see the flower beds and the swimming pool. Her bedroom was also cleared out. Her vanity, desk, and television were all gone. The floor was covered in dust and shoe prints. On the floor lay a book she hadn't finished reading and her beloved bunny plush that she used to cuddle with while sleeping. She picked up the bunny plush, dusted it off, and placed it on the windowsill. "Goodbye," she whispered. The thing she had once looked down on, expensive clothes worn once and then forgotten, jewelry worn for a day and put away, now seemed like things she might never touch again. Mr. Stevens, the butler, and the driver had all left one by one. Mr. Stevens, who had worked there the longest, had grown attached to the place. He advised Ms. Harper to take care of her health, saying that only by looking after herself could she take care of Benjamin Harper. Ms. Harper nodded, smiling, but only after seeing their backs did she let the tears fall. The Harper family trust was emptied to cover the gaps, and while Ms. Harper still had a bit of money, it wasn't much. Benjamin Harper's illness required constant care, which cost money. Caregivers, medication, and nursing all added up. The hospital bills were the most expensive, and when the doctor said Benjamin could be discharged, Ms. Harper immediately started the paperwork. To take better care of Benjamin, she found a fully furnished apartment to rent for a year. It had 3 bedrooms and a living room. One of the rooms was for the caregiver, though she hadn't found the right one yet. For the past couple of days, Ms. Harper had been caring for Benjamin herself. She had seen how caregivers took care of patients at Mayo Clinic, washing, turning them, and helping with personal hygiene. What seemed simple to her turned out to be very difficult. Ms. Harper was small and weak, and though Benjamin had lost weight, his size and weight were still imposing. She had to use all her strength to help him, but sometimes she couldn't manage it. Exhausted, sweating, and gasping for breath, she struggled. Benjamin, emotionally distraught, refused to drink water and barely ate. He didn't want to burden Ms. Harper with his physical needs, but the body couldn't be controlled. Once, he accidentally urinated on the bed, and Ms. Harper had to clean it up. Benjamin's eyes were red from crying. Ms. Harper held him, gently patting his arm. "Dad, it's okay. When you took care of me as a child, now it's my turn to take care of you. This is a normal thing. Don't cry. When you cry, it makes me sad, and I want to cry too. We need to be okay. Don't think too much about it." As a daughter, how could she ever resent her father? Benjamin's heart ached, but with Ms. Harper's comforting words, his soul found some peace. After changing his bed linens, she threw the dirty ones into the washing machine. Within moments, Benjamin had fallen asleep. The room grew quiet, save for the sound of the washing machine. Ms. Harper stood at the door, listening to his soft snoring. She wasn't as strong as she had imagined. Each time she cared for her father, she had to mentally prepare herself. She dreaded facing his pain. When he was sleeping, she would quietly watch him, or like now, stand at the door listening to his snores. She feared he might pass away and leave her alone in this world. After finding a suitable caregiver, Ms. Harper went back to work. She had taken nearly half a month off, and everyone in the company knew her family was going through a crisis. Her phone had been silent during those days. But when she returned to the office, having just clocked in, her boss immediately announced that she was fired. The reason was simple. She had only just started the job and had already taken 20 days off during her probation period. Aside from that, her work had been riddled with mistakes, and her attitude had been unprofessional. There were many examples to cite. "We don't keep idle people here. Pack up and leave," the boss said. Ms. Harper walked out of the office in a daze. It was only outside that she realized she couldn't afford to lose this job. A salary of $6,000 a month wasn't easy to come by. She needed a stable job to cover living expenses, as well as the caregiver's fees, all while taking care of her father. Xiao Li, the other executive assistant, sarcastically urged, "Lady Harper, the boss is in a bad mood today. You'd better leave quickly." She still thinks of herself as a young lady of a wealthy family. She just got lucky with her birth. Without Harper Enterprises, she's no better than us. Calling her useless is giving her too much credit. Finally got rid of this spoiled young lady. No more doing 2 jobs at once. "Stop talking. She's looking over here. So what if she is? I'm not scared. I'm speaking the truth, not lying. I'll say it to her face. Let's see if she dares to argue." Amelia lowered her head and rushed back to her desk. She didn't have many things, just some odds and ends, which could all fit in a single bag. The people talking about her were the same 3 from the break room earlier. They used to talk behind her back, but now they had the audacity to say it to her face. She couldn't rebut them because her lack of skills at work was a sin in itself. "Victoria, last night, the director sent me a text about the resumption of work. The main episodes are already at episode 8, and the behind-the-scenes footage is almost finished. The show is gaining traction. and the director wants us to record the finale. We'll wrap it up in a week, and the editing will just fit in. Ethan checked his phone, and the director had sent him the same text. It seemed like a group message. Sounds good. Nothing else going on lately. I'll treat it like a short vacation. Ethan asked, when do we leave? I'll pack. Day after tomorrow. But before that, I'm going to Springfield Correctional Facility. Victor, still unaware of what's happening outside, was enduring torment inside the prison, hoping Benjamin Harper would be able to get him out. But with such a tiny flicker of hope, Amelia had no intention of letting it grow. I'll go with you. Might as well take a look too. Richard Johnson had been wanting to see Ethan, and the Springfield Correctional Facility had called Ethan multiple times. Ethan hadn't responded to any of them, but upon hearing that Richard Johnson was having a tough time, he felt relieved. Ethan packed both their bags while Victoria took out the things she wanted to bring, and Ethan packed them into the suitcase. She didn't need much, mostly winter clothes for cold weather, and the thick clothes filled up the suitcase quickly. Luckily, the trip wouldn't be long, and since it was close enough to drive, Ethan also considered that she might get sick, so he packed various peppermint oil capsules and the items Victoria would need during her time of the month. After packing, the production crew's official account posted a notice about resumption of work, sharing posters of the 6 cast members online. By now, it was clear that Victoria and Ethan were together. Grace Parker clearly liked Ethan in the show, and Olivia Bennett, from what we can see, has been on 2 dates with Christopher Foster, and their DMs have been connected. While fans were still rooting for the Morning Peace couple, some viewers who watched Twitch streams spoke up, saying, Olivia Bennett sent her third signal to Ethan. Anyone who watched the Twitch stream could feel how much she cared about him. She and Christopher Foster probably won't make it. Even if they do in the show, it's scripted. Outside, they're definitely a bit. Agree with the above, Christopher Foster is capable, with a high salary in his own gaming company. But compared to Olivia Bennett's family, he's still far off. Their social classes just don't match. It's the modern age. Who cares about social class? Christopher Foster just needs to be capable. Olivia Bennett needs a smart husband. Someone with her intelligence won't survive without help. For the sake of future generations, she can bring Christopher Foster into the family. Christopher Foster would probably be willing to join the family. His background is poor. He's from Oak Ridge Farm. His parents are still farming vegetables in Oak Ridge community. Talking about power dynamics, Ethan and Victoria aren't equal either. Victoria has Yayan Group. What does Ethan have? The Johnson family is bankrupt. He has no job. He's just leeching off Victoria. That said, even if Olivia Bennett likes Ethan, what does she do about it? Can she beat Victoria? If she can't beat her, then she should join her. How funny. Did you all forget about someone? Logan. The online debate continued, and every time Ethan trended on Twitter, the discussions were about how he wasn't good enough for Victoria. But they never considered that Victoria, with her wealth and status, had everything she wanted. What she needed was someone she loved. The next day, after packing, Ethan and Victoria headed to Springfield Correctional Facility. Richard Johnson and Victor were both in prison there, not far from each other. After they entered, they went their separate ways. Though Ethan had never been to Springfield Correctional Facility, he knew everything about what his father was enduring inside. If anyone had it worse than Victor, it was Richard Johnson. His lower body had been mutilated by Margaret Johnson, and even after visiting the Mayo Clinic, it couldn't be fixed. Once in Springfield Correctional Facility, his physical defect made him the target of ridicule by other inmates. Richard Johnson tried to resist, but everyone he was locked up with was ruthless, and they despised wealthy people. His resistance was nothing more than child's play to them. They would mock him while he tried to relieve himself, even kicking him into the urinal or pouring urine and water over him while he squatted, so he'd end up smelling awful. His body was tortured, and his mind was shattered. Richard Johnson even considered suicide, but he couldn't accept that his life had ended up like this. He remembered when he was called Mr. Johnson, when his life was glamorous. His beautiful wife, loving mistresses, and the satisfaction of achieving his dreams. It felt like a dream now, just a short time ago. He went mad in Springfield Correctional Facility, screaming and howling, wanting out. The inmates beat him, and the guards punished him. His life was worse than death, like an animal in a cage. Today, he heard a guard say that Ethan was coming to visit. He put on heavy handcuffs and followed the guard to the visiting area. Behind the glass, he stared at Ethan with a numb look in his eyes. After a moment, his expression changed, his eyes reddened, and he rushed to the glass, banging on it. Ethan, get me out of here. I can't take it anymore. I'm going crazy inside. Ethan looked at Richard Johnson, who had lost so much weight, his cheeks hollowed out, his dark circles were severe, his hair shaved into a buzz cut, and he wore a cheap blue prison uniform, his body covered in injuries. How's it going in there? Can't you tell? It's awful. Richard Johnson pulled at his shirt, revealing the injuries underneath. They beat me, pour urine and water on me, knock my food to the ground, make me eat off the floor. Look at my injuries, they're all from them. Son, I'm sorry I was wrong. I atone for my sins. I'll bow to you. I shouldn't have ignored you. I shouldn't have wronged you. Please get me out. I'll make it up to you. We'll fix our father-son bond. Ethan nodded and smiled with satisfaction. Seeing you suffer this much, I can finally rest easy. Richard Johnson's eyes bulged with rage as he slammed his hand against the window. Ethan, I'm your father, your dad. How can you do this to me? Without me, there would be no you. You had to find a way to get me out of here. Get you out? After all this time, you still haven't accepted your fate. How pathetic, Ethan retorted coldly. Why shouldn't I treat you this way? Didn't you do the same to Grandma? When she was seriously ill, where were you? When she called from Mayo Clinic to see you for the last time, where were you? After she died, you pretended to be a dutiful son. I learned that from you. Your misery is just beginning. Think about the 20-plus years of prison you've got ahead of you. Whether you survive it or not depends on your luck. If your luck's bad, I'll be the one to collect your body. Richard Johnson's mind was a whirlwind of confusion and anger. This was the only chance he had left. It wasn't until he entered prison that he realized just how different his son was. Ethan was his only hope. Ethan, do you have a conscience? I'm your father. Aren't you afraid of retribution? I beg you. Ethan interrupted him. Don't try to moralize with me. As for you, I have no morals. Being locked up and mistreated, it's your fate. 3 years ago, the bullet Richard Johnson had sent out had found its mark in Ethan's heart. The color drained from Richard's face as he stared at the son in front of him, so different from the one he had once known. Trembling uncontrollably, he realized that the last straw had snapped. He began crying, his nose and eyes running, trying to gain Ethan's sympathy. Ethan returned his tears with a cruel smile and took a step back. Do your time well. I won't come to see you anymore. Don't go. Please don't go. Dad knows he was wrong. I won't go out. Just come and visit me more often. Have him change my cell. I don't want to be beaten and bullied. Richard Johnson shouted desperately, pounding the glass with his fists. His wild reaction earned a warning from the guards. He said many things, but Ethan didn't once look back, coldly disappearing from his view. Richard Johnson truly regretted it now. He thought long and hard, realizing that if he had shown Ethan more care, more love, even just spending time with him when he was sick or protecting him when Aunt Margaret Johnson scolded him, would things have turned out differently? There was nothing more to say between Ethan and Richard Johnson. Everything that needed to be said had already been said. Seeing Richard's miserable state, Ethan felt a genuine sense of satisfaction. Online, some people criticized him for betraying family, while others called him cold-hearted. But honestly, no one cared what kind of person he was. They only believed what they wanted to believe. Meanwhile, Victoria Harper had her own encounter with Victor Harper. Like Richard Johnson, Victor initially thought it was Benjamin Harper who had come to visit him, and that he was finally going to be saved. But to his surprise, it was Victoria. The sight of her filled Victor with rage. If it weren't for her, he wouldn't have ended up in this mess. Harper Enterprises wouldn't have gone bankrupt, and he wouldn't be rotting in prison. Thanks to a prior arrangement, Victor had been having a terrible time in prison. He had even lost his beer belly after just a month. For someone used to a life of luxury, it felt like he was dying. From behind the glass, he glared at Victoria like she was his enemy. If looks could kill, she would have been torn apart 1,000 times over. He should have killed her years ago, when she was just a little girl. There were many ways to do it. Push her down the stairs, drown her in the pool. His mind was filled with various ways to end her life. Why hadn't he been heartless enough to do it then? Why is it you? Where's Benjamin Harper? He spat. Victoria gave a succinct answer. He had a stroke and is paralyzed. Victor immediately retorted, That's impossible. How could Benjamin Harper be paralyzed? To Victor, Benjamin was the second most powerful person after his father, and he had been counting on him to rescue him. How could he be sick? Victoria saw through his thoughts. Harper Enterprises went bankrupt. Benjamin Harper is in the hospital. Do you still expect him to save you? Keep dreaming. Victor refused to believe it. Harper Enterprises can't go bankrupt. It's impossible. He looked into Victoria's eyes, searching for a lie. But all he saw was mockery. A chill ran down his spine. Victoria wouldn't lie to him. He knew that Benjamin Harper's high blood pressure complications had led to a stroke, but the bankruptcy was a shock. Before he went to prison, he knew Harper Enterprises was in trouble, but he never expected it to happen so soon. He never thought someone as capable as Benjamin Harper could fall. Victoria handed him several newspapers, all reporting Harper Enterprises' bankruptcy. His last hope was gone. The papers also carried news about Yain Group, with Victoria's face on the front page. The headline read, Yang Group founder Victoria Harper. Victor stared at the headline in disbelief, gripping the paper harder. How is this possible? How can Victoria Harper be the boss of Yang Group? While he was busy inheriting the Liu family business, Victoria had already surpassed him, leaving him in the dust. This isn't right. Victor muttered, still not believing it. If you're the boss of Yang Group, then who is Mr. Zhou? He's my executive assistant. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He had once flattered Mr. Zhou, even thinking of introducing him to Victoria. Now, the two were in a superior-subordinate relationship. Everything that had confused him suddenly made sense. No wonder Victoria disappeared after entering Mr. Zhou's room. No wonder Mr. Zhou wouldn't take his calls. No wonder Mr. Zhou spoke about Victoria with such respect and seriousness. It was all her doing. She had been pulling the strings all along. While he had been trying to learn about Yang Group and gain favor, Victoria must have been laughing at him all the while. With everything falling into place, Victor's attitude shifted. Sister, I was wrong. I'm your only family. Please help me. I can't stand it in here anymore. You've been here 28 days. Isn't that enough? Victoria replied coolly. Victor was flexible when it came to his survival. He hated Victoria, but he knew she was his only hope. She asked, You say you're sorry. Do you even know what you did wrong? What did I do wrong? He asked, genuinely confused. I shouldn't have laughed at you, spread rumors about you, looked down on you. With every admission, he sneaked a glance at Victoria, studying her expression. I shouldn't have tried to use you for resources, shouldn't have drugged you, betrayed you. I shouldn't have beaten you up or bullied you when we were kids. Victor went on, tried to name every wrong he had committed, and with each confession, he felt a pang in his chest. He realized just how much harm he had done to Victoria, and with every word, he could feel his own unforgivable nature more acutely. Victor is 11 years older than Victoria Harper. When Victoria was 4 and lost her mother, Victor was 15. He had a rebellious, aggressive personality and found amusement in tormenting Victoria. He took her to Greenwood Memorial Park and abandoned her, sometimes physically hurting her, kicking and hitting her. When she was in school, he would soak her books, tear up her homework, and arrange for others to bully her, calling her the daughter of a mistress and accusing her family of stealing money. Victoria was beautiful from a young age, but for the weak, beauty is a curse. The more beautiful someone is, the easier it is for them to be bullied. To hide her appearance, she deliberately made herself unattractive. During the high school entrance exam, Victor cornered her in an alley and broke her right hand. If someone hadn't passed by, both hands might have been broken. She dragged her aching body to the exam location, took painkillers, and wrote with her left hand, only getting her bones treated after the exam. Even after all these years, the place where her bones broke still aches in cold weather. The high school entrance exam was the turning point of her life. There was no room for mistakes. Victor's attempt to ruin her life was nothing but a dream. She scored the highest in the city and entered the best high school. With her success, her so-called father finally began to notice her. She applied for a dormitory, and due to her excellent grades, the school treated her with special care. In this environment, she wouldn't be falsely accused. Everyone was focused on studying to get into a good university. No one had time to bully her. Her high school years were the most peaceful 3 years of Victoria's life. During the college entrance exam, she learned her lesson. When Victor tried to hurt her again, she had already arranged for security. She safely passed the exam, and her results got her into her ideal university. From then on, she began to disguise herself and secretly grow stronger. The Harper family saw her as a worthless flower vase, but forgot that Victoria Harper's high school entrance exam and college entrance exam scores were the highest in the entire city. Victor cried and repented, repeatedly saying sorry and, I was wrong, not even remembering how many times he had said it. And what else? Victor, his throat dry from repeating himself, couldn't think of anything else he had done wrong to Victoria. Victoria, I've said what I needed to say. I'm sorry, I was wrong. You can hit me, yell at me, whatever you want. When I get out, you can return everything I did to you, twice over. Being beaten by Victoria alone was better than being bullied by dozens of people in Springfield Correctional Facility. Victoria responded, Do you think a few words of apology will make me forgive you? Victor, gazing at Victoria's indifferent and disdainful expression, gritted his teeth, knelt down, and bowed his head toward her. Victoria couldn't see him but could hear the heavy sound of his bows. Not enough. Victor raised his head suddenly. You? Victoria mocked. Do you really think a simple apology and a few bows will make me forgive you and rescue you? Why should I? You owe me, and you owe my mother even more. When my mother was alive, She took care of you and your siblings wholeheartedly. How did you repay her? You called her a fox spirit, a mistress, every word cutting into her heart. Whether my mother was a mistress or not, you Harper family knows better than anyone, especially you, Victor. Can you still believe the lies you made up? Victoria's mother, named Victoria Harper, died on a snowy day. Victor's mother was Victoria Harper's sister. She had been in poor health since childhood, and, after giving birth to Emily Harper, her health worsened. The doctors advised her not to have more children, but she still longed for a son. After 10 years, she conceived Victor, and due to her poor health and age, the pregnancy was dangerous. She prepared for the worst and wondered what would happen to her children if she died during childbirth. Children needed a mother, but if her husband remarried, they might be mistreated by a stepmother. Instead of letting her husband find another woman, she decided to choose her own sister. Victoria Harper, with her beauty and gentle nature, was young and easy to control, so she would take care of her sister's children. Victoria Harper had always listened to her sister, as there was a large age gap, and her sister had raised her. However, she never expected her sister to sell her out. Edward Harper was a hypocritical man. After initially pretending to refuse a few times, he acted reluctantly and accepted his wife's arrangement. Why not? A youthful, beautiful girl full of collagen, younger and more attractive than his wife, without wrinkles or stretch marks. He had long coveted his sister-in-law, but he created the persona of a good husband and good father, taking advantage of her while pretending to be virtuous. Victoria Harper could never like Edward Harper. At that time, she already had a boyfriend. To control her, her older sister drugged her and sent her to Edward Harper's bed. Afterward, her sister falsely accused her, claiming she had seduced him while drunk. When Victoria woke up, dizzy and confused, she was slapped by her sister and found herself in her brother-in-law's bed. Under her sister's verbal abuse, Victoria began to doubt herself, feeling guilty, and sought her sister's forgiveness. To atone, she promised to marry into the Harper family after her sister's death and help raise her children. Victoria's mother was trapped in the Harper family for 15 years, like a bird with broken wings, gradually losing her vitality. She poured all her energy into raising her sister's children. She did everything she could, but received no understanding. Her sister's children inherited their parents' selfish genes and never treated Victoria Harper kindly, calling her by her full name and behind her back calling her a mistress. They blamed her for their biological mother's death, believing she was the one who caused it. Watching Emily Harper marry, Victoria Harper finally wanted to leave. To keep her there and continue draining her, they used the same methods again, but this time it was 10-year-old Victor who drugged her. This led to another encounter with Edward Harper, and it was then that she became pregnant with Victoria. She couldn't escape. After giving birth to Victoria in the Harper family, she was in a daze, as if her soul had left her body, trapped in a cage. Edward Harper and Victor tried to use the fetus to keep Victoria Harper there. The truth couldn't stay hidden forever. When Victoria was 3, Victoria Harper learned the truth. Her sister had drugged her for selfish reasons, and while she tortured herself with guilt, her sister planned to exploit her value. After 15 years of mental abuse, verbal attacks, and negating her existence, she began to doubt herself, trapped and controlled. All her persistence seemed wrong, and her beliefs shattered. On Christmas Eve the following year, she chose to end her life. When the avalanche came, no snowflake was innocent. The victim was called a seductress, and the culprits, including the Harper family, continued to live in luxury, untouched by consequences. Edward Harper's twisted desires took advantage of the situation, while Emily Harper and Victor, knowing the truth, still helped in the cruelty. They were cold-blooded, ungrateful, and worse than animals. Some people lower their guilt by apologizing, while others brainwash themselves into blaming innocent people. Victoria looked at Victor with the cold gaze of a dead person. Not enough. Not nearly enough. I want you to live a life worse than your father's. You should kneel and apologize to my mother. Whether she forgives you is her choice, but I'm just responsible for bringing you to her. Victor was terrified by Victoria's gaze. His face was as pale as a condemned prisoner, and his lips lost all color. He realized that his life was over. At this point, the apology was useless, laughable even. Regret couldn't be bought back. If a simple "I'm sorry" could fix everything, then what would the law be for? Victor saw the malice in Victoria's eyes. He knew that his father's death was somehow linked to her. She hated the Harper family because of her mother's suicide. Thinking of the horrible way his father died, Victor knew that it was likely his own fate, too. Even if he got out of Springfield Correctional Facility, he wouldn't escape that end. Maybe staying in the facility would be better. Victor no longer dared to beg Victoria. He crawled on the ground, too afraid to raise his head. Her cold gaze fell on him, and he listened as she spoke slowly. I used to hate my name, Victoria, meaning smoke that dissipates, smoke that fades in the wind. No matter how you look at it, the meaning was bad. But now, I can give a new meaning. A smoke that will turn you all to ashes. Victoria Harper founded the Yin Group, a name she created for both herself and Ethan. She and Ethan had a lot of connections, with the last character of both their names being Yin, which separately can mean Ian. Victoria Harper looked at Victor Harper, whose face had turned pale with fear, and felt like dragging him out, sticking needles into the gaps of his nails, heating knives, and cutting his flesh. She wasn't one to be magnanimous. Her hatred could simmer for 20 years, and she believed that destiny was in her hands, including the fate of others. Victoria Harper spent money to arrange things, repeatedly instructing that Victor Harper should not be allowed to have any peace, not even for a day, an hour, or minute. As long as he wasn't dead, she'd make his life unbearable. When Victoria Harper left, Ethan was already waiting outside. Was it enjoyable? Ethan asked. Victoria Harper remembered Victor Harper's pitiful and wretched face and smiled as she nodded. Yes, it was enjoyable. After watching, I felt satisfied. How about you? I thought it was quite enjoyable too. Passing by prison guards, overhearing their conversation, looked at them in confusion, wondering what they meant by enjoyable. Those who knew it was a prison understood, while those who didn't might think they'd just watched a movie and were now discussing the plot. Since they were already here, Ethan decided to drop by the nearby Springfield Mental Health Center. Margaret Johnson, who had once feigned madness, had truly gone mad after being admitted here. Victoria Harper accompanied Ethan, and the two stood by the small window to look inside. Margaret Johnson wasn't young anymore, and her short hair had almost turned entirely white. She sat by the window, staring outside. She lived in a shared room with 8 other patients, some of whom sang, others danced. These people's mental states were unstable as they were sent here after committing crimes, so they had violent tendencies. Compared to them, Margaret Johnson was much quieter. She sat blankly, holding a pillow in her arms, humming a tuneless song, swaying her body and shaking her head as if she were calming the pillow, as if it were a child. Catherine, you're Mommy's little cutie. Mommy will sing you to sleep. You must be good and not make noise. Later, Mommy will braid your hair. The pillow was suddenly snatched from her arms, and she went mad, chasing after it, but she tripped and fell. The pillow was thrown on the floor and trampled. After the others were done, she knelt down to pick it up, carefully brushing off the dust and blowing on it, saying, "Good, it doesn't hurt anymore, Catherine. Ethan doesn't hurt anymore. Mommy won't hit you again." After a while, she put the pillow down and randomly grabbed someone, asking, "Have you seen my son? His name is Ethan. He's 24 years old, very handsome, with a birthmark on his neck. He's very smart, got into Roan University, and he's very filial. He knows what I like to eat and what to make for me. He listens to me. Why can't I find him? Where did he go? I know. He must have left because he was angry with me. I hurt him. I hit him. He's gone. He doesn't want me as his mother anymore." Margaret Johnson rambled on, and her voice drifted out. Ethan listened quietly, his heart unshaken. He was just thinking that the mad Margaret Johnson seemed more normal now than before. At least, she cared about her child now. Victoria Harper silently stood by his side like an angel guarding him, squeezing his hand. Ethan squeezed back, calmly saying, "I'm fine, it's all in the past." The production crew officially announced the recording time, and all the viewers were waiting for the Twitch stream. To avoid being disturbed, Ethan and Victoria Harper left early. Grace Parker called Ethan to ask when he was leaving, probably hoping to go with him, but she was too late since Victoria Harper and Ethan were already on their way. Just after Grace Parker finished the call, Olivia Bennett called as well. "Ethan, have you left yet? Can I ride with you? I'm so bored by myself." Olivia Bennett was always straightforward and didn't hide anything. Ethan, focused on driving, answered the phone, and it was Victoria Harper who picked up. "No, you can't." Olivia Bennett froze, then realized, "Victoria Harper? How come it's you? I dialed Ethan's phone, right?" "I'm with Ethan. The car is already full of luggage. There's no space for you. You'll have to take a separate car. Don't you know how to drive? Why are you taking Ethan's car?" Olivia Bennett's alarm bells went off. She'd seen the online rumors about Victoria Harper and Ethan secretly living together. The netizens had analyzed it thoroughly, but Olivia didn't believe it because they had signed a contract before the show started, and they weren't allowed to date until after the show ended. If they didn't follow the rules, they'd have to pay a penalty. Victoria Harper might break the rules, but Ethan wouldn't. In her mind, Ethan was always someone who valued integrity and kept his word, so she didn't think he would be easily swept away by Victoria Harper. Olivia Bennet liked Ethan. While Victoria Harper was powerful, beautiful, sexy, and could make money, Olivia wasn't bad either. She figured Ethan might prefer a sweet, naive type like her, someone who wasn't as dominant as Victoria Harper. After this mental shift, Olivia Bennet convinced herself that her own shortcomings were actually advantages. The filming location is 310, 69 miles away from the residence, and it takes about 6 hours to drive there. The weather this season is just a bit cold, but otherwise perfect. The recording location is the same as before, but this time, Ethan drove himself instead of hitching a ride with the production crew like last time, and Victoria was with him. Ethan packed some snacks and didn't rush. He took his time, enjoying the scenery, stopping to rest along the way, treating it like a mini vacation. This stretched the 6-hour drive to 8 hours. They left in the morning, and by the time they arrived, it was already dark. Ethan woke up a sleeping Victoria. At the Oak Ridge retreat, the director, wearing a black down jacket, was commanding the crew to set up equipment and clean up. Ethan and Victoria were the last ones to arrive. As soon as Ethan got out of the car with his suitcase, Grace Parker, standing under the streetlight, saw him and brightened up. But her expression quickly faded when she noticed Victoria walking behind him. Victoria was carrying a backpack, holding a snack bag, and clutching a water bottle. She looked like she had just woken up, her hair messy, a bit dazed, following Ethan quietly. Ethan lowered his head and reminded her, "Be careful. There's a puddle here. Don't step in it." Victoria yawned, nodded, and stepped in his footprints, keeping pace with him. They weren't holding hands, nor was there any other intimate behavior. But for some reason, they looked perfectly in sync, like a couple on a trip. Grace had thought that after all this time, she'd be overseeing Ethan, but her heart still felt tight. She clenched her hands at her sides, trying to suppress her emotions. In contrast, Olivia Bennet didn't hold back. Having been raised in a different environment, she spoke her mind. She ran over and immediately asked, "Why are you so late? When I called you this morning, you said you were already on your way. How come it took so long?" She frowned, clearly pressing Ethan. "I was driving slow. That's way too slow. A turtle would have beaten you." Ethan changed the subject. "Did you eat yet?" "No, we're waiting for you. The dishes are ready to be cooked." "I'll do it," Ethan said, putting down his luggage and rolling up his sleeves to get to work. Christopher and Logan came over to greet him. "Ethan, long time no see. You look even better now." Christopher added, "Feels like you've gotten stronger too." Ethan had always had a good foundation, but he hadn't cared about his appearance before. Ever since he got together with Victoria, she'd been picking out his outfits. The coat he was wearing, for instance, was custom-made, with Victoria using a soft tape measure to get the exact measurements. He remembered the day they were measuring him for clothes. Before he knew it, Victoria had pulled him onto the bed. Everyone had their own thoughts as they watched Ethan and Victoria. Both of them had changed, but not in appearance, more in their energy. It was as if they had become more similar, even looking like a married couple. No one was unaware of Victoria's identity. Christopher regretted not having tried harder to make a good impression when he first met her. If he had known she was the boss of Yayan Group, he would have tried harder to befriend her. He wondered if it was too late now. Ethan was incredibly lucky, enjoying the attention of the female guests. Even the director seemed to favor him. Olivia Bennet eagerly helped Victoria with her luggage. "You're staying in the same room as last time, right? Is that okay?" "No problem." Victoria quickly unpacked. Inside her suitcase was a men's jacket that Olivia immediately recognized as Ethan's. Olivia froze for a moment. "How come you're with Ethan?" "Just passing by." "Then why is his jacket in your luggage?" Olivia pointed at the jacket. Victoria didn't answer right away. Instead, she placed the jacket on the bed in front of Olivia, clearly making a statement. She had once pursued Ethan, so she knew exactly what Olivia was thinking. The jacket was a sign of her claiming her relationship with him. In addition to that, there was another reason. During the recording, they couldn't sleep together, and she was afraid she wouldn't sleep well. So, she had taken one of his jackets, intending to hug it at night. Olivia Bennet, sensing the tension, asked cautiously, "So, are you really living together, like they say online?" Victoria didn't respond verbally, just gave a meaningful smile. The expression left Olivia flustered, her face shifting between red and pale. "How could you? Don't you care about the rules of the show? Did you forget the NDA agreement you signed with the director? This is a breach of contract. The agreement said no dating, but it didn't say anything about living together, did it?" Olivia was getting more upset, afraid that asking too much would only lead to more disappointment. She thought about it. Two people living together, what else could their relationship be? Ethan and Victoria weren't struggling financially, so why would they live together if it wasn't for something more? Everyone knew Victoria was into Ethan. If the opportunity was right in front of her, could she really resist? Would she just treat him like an ordinary roommate? If it were her, she couldn't. Although she hated to admit it, Olivia knew Ethan's feelings for Victoria weren't just casual. A few years ago, she might have stood a chance, but now, what could she compete with? Victoria had Yang Group's name behind her, a company her father wanted to befriend. Before coming to the show, her dad had advised her to get close to Victoria. That made her feel small in comparison. Next to Victoria, she was nothing. How could she compete for a man with someone like that? If she angered Victoria, her father would surely scold her for being useless. Olivia stood by the door, watching Victoria organize her clothes. She muttered, "I can't believe it. You're actually the big boss of Yang Group." Victoria closed her suitcase, placed it against the wall, then walked over to Olivia, patting her on the head. "There's a lot you don't know. You'd better start paying attention, keep your eyes wide open, and use your brain." She was genuinely giving advice, but Olivia misunderstood, thinking she was mocking her. "I admit you're smart and capable, but that's exactly why you're not right for Ethan. You two just don't match. Being together long-term will only pressure him. Men have fragile egos. I don't think you two will last." Victoria Harper withdrew her hand and asked, "If you don't think we're right for each other, then who do you think is? Yourself?" Olivia Bennett, provoked by her, felt a surge of confidence. "Why can't it be me? I may not be as impressive as you, but I can provide Ethan with emotional value. Do you know how valuable emotional support is? If Ethan is with me, he'll look strong. But with you, he's just going to get called a kept man. How much will that hurt his pride? It's not just me who doesn't believe in you. The internet doesn't either. You don't even know how filthy their comments are. Can you really bear the thought of Ethan living with that kind of public opinion forever?" Victoria Harper crossed her arms, not even glancing at Olivia. "So you're saying Twitter's opinion determines who is suitable?" Although she knew she was wrong, Olivia Bennett stubbornly retorted, "The public eye is never wrong. Then Twitter supports you and Christopher being together. Would you go for it?" Victoria Harper shot back with her own words. Olivia Bennett's expression faltered, and she was left speechless. "Have you forgotten when you supported Amelia's attack on Ethan?" Victoria Harper asked. Olivia Bennett quickly responded, "I haven't forgotten. I know I was wrong. I've changed." Victoria Harper's smile gradually faded. "Just because you've changed doesn't mean the past didn't happen. Should I stab you and tell you the knife did it on its own? You have no sense of judgment, just repeating what others say. It's hard to guarantee this won't happen again. You think Ethan is eating soft food with me, but won't he be talked about the same way when he's with you? I know what the Bennett family is like. And with your weak personality, can you promise you'll stand up for him when your parents shame him? Can you stick by him when everyone looks down on him?" With every question, Victoria Harper stepped closer, and Olivia Bennett stumbled back, losing all the confidence she had before. Her face turned pale with fear. She weakly responded, "I didn't say he's eating soft food. The netizens did. When you said we aren't a good match, wasn't that what you really thought?" Victoria Harper smirked confidently. "Ethan likes me because I'm good. I'm independent, confident, and have a free, independent soul. To him, I'm the most special one. I understand him and believe in him. No matter what happens, I'll stand by him. I've known since I was young what I want and what kind of person suits me. Like they say, the right lid for the right pot, the right shoe for the right foot. I know my place. I understand that it's because of my excellence that I deserve to be liked by him. In short, Ethan likes me for who I am, and you can't change that." Olivia Bennett couldn't stand it anymore. She had mustered so much courage to stand in front of Victoria Harper and say all those things, but with just a few words, Victoria Harper shattered her completely. Growing up, her parents had taught her that in relationships where there's a big gap, there will always be pain. Whether it's with friends, lovers, or even family, she often found herself being compared to her siblings, belittled, and made to feel worthless. The bigger the gap, the less secure she felt. Knowing the pain that such a difference brought, she thought Ethan and Victoria Harper wouldn't last if they were together. Olivia Bennett even felt that this relationship was one where Victoria Harper was forcing Ethan into it. Ethan had finished getting ready and came over to call Victoria Harper. "Victoria, are you ready?" "Ready." Victoria Harper ran out. If there weren't other people around, she would have thrown herself into Ethan's arms. When she heard Ethan call her name, Olivia Bennett stood frozen in place, like she had been sentenced to stand. Ethan glanced at her. "What were you two talking about?" Victoria Harper answered calmly, "Nothing." Ethan didn't ask further, and the two walked into the kitchen together. "What do you want to eat tonight?" "I had snacks in the car, so I'm not hungry yet. Let's see what they've prepared. But tomorrow, I kind of want to eat fish. I'll go fishing tomorrow. Ethan hadn't fished in a long time, and he felt the itch to do it. Olivia Bennet silently followed behind them, watching the two of them ahead of her. The light above them stretched their shadows together. In the kitchen, the others were busy. Grace Parker was chopping garlic, Christopher was watching the pot, and Logan, lacking cooking skills, was managing the fire. When Ethan entered, Grace Parker put down the knife. Tonight we're having coleslaw, tomato scrambled eggs, and shredded potatoes. What do you think? The kitchen's live streaming camera was already set up, and viewers were watching on Twitch. Sound good? I'll handle it. You've been driving all day. You should sit down and rest while I cook. Grace Parker wasn't a gourmet, but she knew how to make simple home dishes. The ones she was preparing that night were the ones she usually made and rarely went wrong with. She cracked 5 eggs into a bowl and quickly whisked them with chopsticks. Christopher reminded her, the oil in the pan is already hot. Hearing this, Grace Parker quickly poured the eggs into the pan. New viewers were flooding into the live stream, thanks to the hype from the main show. This was their first time watching Grace Parker cook, and she was calm yet focused, though her ears were tuned to Ethan's side of the room. Ethan didn't sit idle. He first cleaned out the cabinets and helped Victoria Harper wash the dishes. His movements were quick, and soon the cabinets were spotless. The viewers quickly picked up on their seamless teamwork. Ethan and Victoria Harper worked in perfect sync, almost without needing to communicate. One washed dishes, the other wiped them. Their body language was intimate, a habit formed over time. Grace Parker couldn't help but glance at them, and in doing so, she neglected the food in the pan, which burned. Christopher pointed out, "It's burned." Looking at the pan, Grace Parker's expression darkened, and she struggled to suppress her frustration. Logan asked, "Did I make the fire too big?" 5 egg whites were ruined, making the dish inedible. Hearing the commotion, Ethan turned around. "Let me handle it. Do you have any more eggs?" 5 left. Grace Parker, flustered, handed him the spatula. As Ethan took it, his fingers brushed hers, sending a wave of heat through her hand. Grace Parker instinctively recoiled. Viewers caught the subtle change. Grace Parker still cares about Ethan. As soon as he walked in, she got flustered. Her face stayed calm, but her body gave her away. "Ethan, why are you washing dishes? Look at Grace Parker. I feel bad for the actress." When Victoria Harper and Ethan show up, the calm kitchen turns into a storm. Ethan took the spatula from Grace Parker's hand and quickly started cooking several dishes. Everyone watched his movements, and Victoria Harper glanced at him before continuing to wash the dishes and set the table. When Christopher saw Olivia Bennet arrive, he slowly moved toward her and started a conversation. His goal hadn't changed. After all, Olivia Bennet was the easiest to deceive and the most likely to fall for his charms among all the female contestants. The director, observing this harmonious scene, suddenly had the urge to stir things up. After so many days of rest, have you all been in contact with each other? Have any of you been secretly dating behind the production crew's back? Logan Prescott immediately spoke up. "Director, we all signed agreements, and we won't breach them." Christopher looked at Olivia Bennet and said, "We've been in contact, but we absolutely haven't been dating." Regarding the breach of agreement, Ethan initially wanted to quit the production crew and pay the penalty, but the director convinced him to stay. After all, Ethan was currently the most popular, and without him, it was unlikely the female contestants would stay. If they all left, the grand finale would be ruined. Besides, he had Victoria Harper behind him, and no matter how bold Ethan was, he wouldn't dare challenge her. The director called out Christopher. "Christopher, who have you seen?" Christopher smiled. "I've met with Shinrong a few times. We had a few meals together." Worried about misunderstandings, Olivia Bennet spoke up. "It wasn't just the two of us, my dad was there too." She glanced at Ethan to find that he wasn't looking at her at all. Logan Prescott, ever the commentator, quickly chimed in. "No way. You even met the parents?" "No, don't spread rumors." Olivia Bennet frowned, explaining with a scowl. "It was Christopher asking my dad to introduce his game project. That meant he was seeking investment, and it was clear to everyone that this wasn't just about presenting a game, but about introducing himself." Logan Prescott understood men's tricks too well, and knew Harper Enterprises didn't have a gaming division. If Christopher truly wanted to raise investment, he'd be better off talking to Logan, who had many more connections in that field. Christopher laughed subtly. "Don't overthink it. We were really just talking business. I didn't expect to run into Shinrong." This sounded like he was covering something up, and everyone could sense something wasn't right. Olivia Bennet, however, nodded obediently. He and Benjamin Harper were just talking business. The director asked again, "What about the others?" He wanted to see how Victoria Harper and Ethan would respond. Victoria Harper replied, "Ethan and I meet often. We even trended on Twitter." "Why do you meet so often?" the director asked. Victoria Harper replied confidently, I moved, and I asked Ethan for help. It turns out I ended up moving right next door to him. It wasn't cohabitation, and Olivia Bennet immediately breathed a sigh of relief. The director reiterated the program rules and insisted on collecting everyone's communication devices. Tonight, send DM matches and see if you've changed your minds over the past few days. After giving his instructions, the director left. Ethan finished cooking the dishes and brought them to the table. As he returned to the familiar surroundings, from the table to the little decorations around the room, he couldn't help but feel nostalgic. He looked at everyone and asked, Anyone want a drink? I brought a few bottles of alcohol. It's not strong, but it'll warm us up. All the girls immediately agreed, and Christopher and Logan Prescott had no objections. Ethan went to the car and brought out the bottles, pouring them for everyone. Welcome back to Oak Ridge Retreat. The six of them raised their glasses and clinked them. Just after a few bites, Grace Parker stood up. I almost forgot the pickled vegetables I brought. Let me go get them. She returned quickly, holding a plastic jar. Logan Prescott asked, What kind of pickled vegetables are these? Grace Parker twisted the lid off. Pickled vegetables assortment. My mom made them. Ethan likes them, so she packed a few jars for me to bring. We'll open this jar today. Grace Parker wasn't shy about it, and it was precisely because of this that people could tell her relationship with Ethan was close. In Olivia Bennet's eyes, this was practically simping. Grace Parker, who was sitting next to Ethan, placed the jar in front of him. Try some. With so many eyes on them and the Twitch livestream running, Ethan didn't refuse. He picked some out, placed it in his bowl, and said, Thank you, before turning to Victoria Harper. Want to try some? Aunt Grace's cooking is great. When she used to run a snack shop, many community workers came specifically for her pickled vegetables. Well, in that case, I have to try it. Victoria Harper grabbed some and tasted it, commenting, It's really good. I've tried some of the dishes Ethan brought back before. Aunt Grace is an amazing cook. A few short sentences revealed plenty of information. Olivia Bennet, not wanting to be outdone, also wanted to join the table. There was alcohol and food, so what was missing? Olivia Bennet quickly ran to her room and brought out a bag of tea. Ethan, I brought some tea leaves. Didn't you say you want to make tea eggs? I brought this from home. You can use it for tea eggs or bubble tea. Take a look. She proudly placed a jar of tea leaves in front of Ethan. The tea had no label, and Ethan opened the lid. Immediately, a rich tea fragrance wafted out. It was clearly high-quality tea. He picked up a little and looked at it before setting it down. Where did you get this tea? I got it from Benjamin Harper. He's the only one in our family who likes tea. You didn't tell him you were taking it? Our family has a lot of tea, and this jar doesn't have a label. It should just be ordinary tea. Olivia Bennet had no idea about tea, but the jar was filled with Earl Grey Supreme, the king of green tea. A small jar like that could cost $1. $5 million. If she used $1, $5 million tea to make tea eggs, those eggs must be priceless. Ethan gently advised, Before Benjamin Harper finds out, you'd better return it unopened. Why? Don't you like tea too? Olivia Bennet was aware of Ethan's preferences, such as his love for tea, chess, flowers, and fishing. Ethan enjoyed peace, and she, with her lively personality, couldn't help but calm down when she was around him. Ethan looked at Olivia Bennet as if she were a child. This tea is Earl Grey Supreme, and a jar like this costs no less than $1. $5 million. It's clearly one of your dad's best collections. You took it without telling him? Be careful. He might make you kneel as punishment when you return it. Olivia Bennet froze. She stared at the jar of tea on the table, thinking to herself, this thing costs $1. $5 million? How can it be so expensive? Scared and flustered, Olivia Bennet wanted to put the jar back but felt too embarrassed. You can't just take something back after giving it away. Ethan explained, If you want tea eggs, just buy some tea from the farmer's market tomorrow. Even if you gave me this jar, I wouldn't accept it. Olivia Bennet thought for a moment and grabbed a little of the tea. I've never had tea this good. Let me brew some and taste it. Without proper tea utensils in Oak Ridge Retreat, Olivia Bennet simply threw the tea leaves into hot water. For a tea lover, that was sacrilege. She took a sip and said, It doesn't taste that great. It's not even as good as the $21 bubble tea. In one sentence, the mountain pig can't handle fine grains. It had been 2 or 3 months since they last met, and it was surprising how easily they fell back into the same warm camaraderie. But it was all just surface-level harmony, with quiet competition brewing beneath. Grace Parker and Olivia Bennet both tried to strike up conversations with Ethan. Among the male guests, Logan maintained the appearance of enthusiasm, though he had already seen through the situation and had moved on. As for Christopher, his attention was still fixed on Olivia Bennet, even though she clearly didn't want to engage with him. Still, he persisted with his cold demeanor and warm pursuit. Victoria Harper was drinking, Her cheeks flushed pink, and while talking to Ethan, she occasionally glanced at her condition. "Are you tired? Do you want to go back to your room and rest?" "No, I'm not tired." She didn't speak much, just propped her head up and watched Ethan respond to the others. Olivia Bennet was lively, Grace Parker more reserved. In this moment, it still felt like summer. The day had passed so quickly, and it used to be perfect to dine outside here, but now, unless they ate quickly, they'd only get cold food. Speaking of which, a lot has happened recently. 2 months ago, Amelia and William were still recording shows with us. Now one of them's gone, and the other is in an uncertain situation. "Ethan, Amelia was your ex-girlfriend. Have you been keeping tabs on the mess at Harper Enterprises?" Christopher couldn't stand Ethan. Before joining the production crew, he was very confident, thinking he was the most capable among the male guests. Who would have thought that the most useless one would end up being everyone's favorite, repeatedly ruining his plans? Initially, Olivia Bennet was still interested in him, but now she wouldn't even look at him. If Ethan hadn't shown up, maybe he would have been with Olivia Bennet by now. After leaving the production crew, he made an effort to reach out to Olivia Bennet, but she responded indifferently, and he didn't dare appear too eager. Luckily, he had found a way to meet Olivia Bennet's father, and so far, her parents seemed to have a good impression of him. Once he won over her parents, surely he could win her over, right? During dinner, Olivia Bennet's gaze never left Ethan, circling him. If Christopher wanted Olivia Bennet to notice him, he'd have to tear apart Ethan's facade and shatter the image Ethan had built in her mind. Everyone turned their attention to Ethan, waiting to see how he would respond. Ethan smiled lightly. "I don't care, but it seems like you do. After all, she's Olivia Bennet's friend." He thought this would please Olivia Bennet, but instead, she frowned. "What's the point of bringing this up? You don't understand Ethan's situation, so just stop asking." After the trouble with Harper Enterprises, her father had sternly warned her to stay away from them, but she still kept in touch with Amelia privately, trying to learn what had happened. To be honest, Amelia had wronged Ethan, but she hadn't wronged Olivia Bennet. Although their friendship wasn't pure, Amelia had genuinely made an effort to befriend her back then. Olivia Bennet couldn't really help Amelia, but she tried to offer some support. She glanced at Ethan with a hint of guilt, clearly realizing that Ethan didn't take Christopher's words seriously. "I just think Ethan's been a bit heartless. You loved her for so long, but as soon as Harper Enterprises collapsed, you distanced yourself, not even offering some support, at least a little concern. And your parents, even though they did wrong, it's been years. They were first-time parents, and, as children, we should be more understanding. They raised you, gave you everything you needed, and provided the best resources." Christopher adopted a condescending posture, lecturing Ethan from a place of superiority. He criticized him in private, calling him cold-hearted. Despite his parents being imprisoned, Ethan could still cheerfully attend a show and flirt with women. Such selfish and vengeful personality traits, he believed, would lead to a marriage where partners only shared the good times and ran from difficulties. Christopher had finally drawn the attention of everyone present, but it was all hostile. He had drunk too much and was feeling cocky because Ethan hadn't reacted. Ethan had certainly caught on to the fact that Christopher was mocking him. So after Christopher had finished speaking, Ethan casually remarked, "You're so good at honoring your parents. Why don't you bring them over to take care of them?" "I would if I could, but my parents are used to living in Oak Ridge community. They can't adjust to the city. Older people always need something to do, like growing vegetables." "What about your 3 sisters?" When Christopher mentioned his sisters, he seemed noticeably defensive. "What's wrong with my sisters? We're talking about your situation. Do I have a close relationship with you? Why should I answer your questions? What makes you think you have a right to criticize me? Instead of worrying about me, worry about yourself. Guess how much I know about your family." Out of caution, Ethan had already figured out both Christopher and Logan. Logan wasn't much of a problem, but Christopher was another matter. Ethan continued to attack. "You talk so highly of my family. Well, I wish you'd get reborn into a family like the Johnsons next time." Ethan's words had an underlying meaning, and viewers in the Twitch chat began to speculate about Christopher's background. There had been rumors that Christopher came from a Phoenix man background, raised in an authoritarian household with 3 sisters. The oldest had only finished middle school, and the younger 2 had completed high school before marrying young. Allegedly, they had given up their wedding dowries to fund Christopher's university education, and his first entrepreneurial capital came from the money they contributed. However, these were just rumors and had never been confirmed. If they were true, it would paint Christopher in an even worse light, like someone who sucked the life out of his sisters without ever giving anything back. Christopher thought he had kept his secrets well, but the live comments were already full of insults directed at him. Even Olivia Bennet looked at him with strange eyes. Grace Parker, on the other hand, wore a grim expression full of hostility. To her, Ethan was the best person, and anyone who spoke ill of him was her enemy. How dare Christopher say such things in front of so many people? A good ex should be like they're dead. No one expected Grace Parker to say this. Everyone knew she was Ethan's first love and ex, and by insulting Amelia, she had indirectly insulted herself as well. Grace Parker wasn't drunk, she was fully sober. She knew there was no future between her and Ethan, but she was willing to participate in this show to give herself closure, to leave no regrets. After filming, she would consider herself dead. Grace Parker said, "Amelia's situation has nothing to do with Ethan. If you think she deserves forgiveness, I hope that one day, when your own partner cheats or runs away from marriage, betraying you, you'll be gracious enough to forgive her. Don't advise others until you've walked in their shoes. We're still filming, and over 50 million followers are watching. You'd better watch what you say." As Ethan listened, he suddenly felt a slight itch on his thigh. Under the table, Victoria Harper had placed her hand on his leg. Grace Parker always gave off a cold, distant vibe. She rarely got angry, and even if something upset her, she wouldn't show it. During the variety show, both the production crew and the Twitch streaming audience thought Grace Parker had a very good temper. This was the first time they saw her lose her cool. Well said. Victoria Harper praised Grace Parker while secretly placing her hand on Ethan's thigh, slowly moving it upward until it slipped into his pocket. At first, Ethan didn't pay much attention, thinking Victoria Harper was just trying to warm her cold hand. But gradually, her hand began to act less innocent. Ethan's expression changed, and he pressed her hand down. The others at the table had no idea what was happening under the table and assumed Ethan was simply angry. Victoria Harper propped her face on one hand, casting a cold glance at Christopher. "Christopher, are you talking behind my back, targeting me?" Christopher froze and quickly said, "I didn't." He was already sober now. Victoria Harper was known for keeping her emotions in check. No one could tell what she was truly thinking. "You think Ethan shouldn't have reported Richard Johnson and the others? Did you forget that I sent my own brother to Springfield Correctional Facility? And by the way, Harper Enterprises went bankrupt twice because of me. If Ethan is being selfish, then I must be insane. Compared to the things I've done, what Ethan did is nothing." There were rumors online that Harper Enterprises' rapid downfall had something to do with Victoria Harper. Hearing the truth from her own lips left everyone in the show, both on and off camera, stunned. Christopher, who had started this topic, was sweating profusely. Victoria Harper's tone didn't change, but the pressure she exerted was palpable. "If you envy the life Ethan had, I can help you. Want me to introduce you to a pair of abusive parents? I can set you up with as many as you want, dozens, even. You get to experience a different life." Her tone and expression were sincere, as though, with just a nod from Christopher, she would immediately arrange it for him. Christopher quickly sobered up. Anyone who could destroy their family's business and send their own brother to prison couldn't be a kind person. Victoria Harper was someone to be avoided. If you crossed her, she would return the favor tenfold, with no mercy. "I don't want it," Christopher stammered. "Do you still think Ethan is cold-hearted and ungrateful?" No. Victoria Harper kept pressing. "So, do you think our actions were right?" "Yes," Christopher said weakly. "Right in what way?" "You like to torture people, don't you? Well, I can do the same to you." Christopher was sweating cold, his body restless, wishing he could crawl under the table to escape. He couldn't pinpoint what was right about Ethan's actions because, deep down, he had always looked down on Ethan, thinking everything he did was wrong. Admitting Ethan was right would mean contradicting everything he had said, and that would be a slap in the face. But if he didn't say something, Victoria Harper wouldn't let him off easily. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have interfered in your matters. I know I was wrong. From now on, I'll be careful with my words. Please forget what I said earlier. I was drunk, and it was a mistake." Olivia Bennett also spoke up for Ethan. "Is it okay to just point fingers at others when you're drunk? You're an adult. Don't you know right from wrong? If Benjamin Harper broke the law, I'd send him to jail too." This was truly surprising. Olivia Bennett, the picture of a dutiful daughter, was saying this. "It's getting late. Everyone, let's clean up and head to bed. I'll take the dishes." Ethan stood up to ease the tension. He was worried that if he didn't act now, he might show a different reaction. He grabbed Victoria Harper's wrist under the table, gently pulling her hand out of his pocket. Victoria Harper looked up at him, her eyes soft from the alcohol. Christopher, eager to make himself useful, rushed to clear the table, grabbing Ethan's bowl. "Let me do the washing up. I haven't done anything today." "Who said you haven't done anything? You were just looking for trouble earlier." With Ethan's hand pulled away, Victoria Harper, clearly unhappy, shifted her anger to Christopher. Christopher lowered his head and quickly cleaned up the table, eager to leave. Once they were gone, Ethan asked Victoria Harper, "Are you cold?" Victoria Harper feigned weakness. "Yeah, I'm really cold. Will you hold me? Be my warm pillow." "There's a camera." Ethan glanced at the camera on the ceiling. Victoria Harper hummed, "If there's a camera, are you afraid to hug me?" Ethan looked at her tousled hair, noticing her shivering a little. His heart softened, and he helplessly pulled her into his embrace, trying to share his warmth with her. Even though there was a camera recording, it could always be edited out later. But the truth was, even if there were live cameras, if Victoria Harper needed his hug, he'd give it to her. Ethan stood with his back to the door, and Victoria Harper leaned against him, watching a cameraman approach. With just a look, the cameraman quickly retreated. Ethan asked, "Are we good?" Victoria Harper reluctantly loosened her grip around his waist, tilting her head up to ask, "Ethan, save me a spot tonight, will you?" Did she expect to sleep in a separate room for 7 nights just because of some silly show? Ethan decided it was time to have a proper conversation about the rules. "I'm worried I won't sleep well. Can you bear to see me suffer from insomnia? And you know I'm afraid of the cold. No matter how thick the blanket is, my feet get cold. Greenfield Township is colder than the city, and I'm afraid of getting frostbite. If you're worried about people finding out, I'll do it secretly. You wake up early, so just wake me up early. I won't sleep in, and I'll listen to you. I won't tease you." Ethan had a feeling Victoria Harper would never let this go. During dinner, she had already made small moves on him. Did she think she could be more restrained in front of so many people? No, she probably found it even more thrilling. Victoria Harper only liked teasing him like this. Ever since they got together, she had noticed how much more patient Ethan had become. In the past, a single breath in his ear could make his ears turn red. But now, it didn't work anymore. She liked the shy, restrained Ethan because that side of him was for her eyes only. No one else could see it. He was entirely hers. Knowing that Victoria Harper was afraid of the cold, Ethan would prepare a foot bath for her at home. But here, he had to heat the water on a cast-iron stove. Ethan went to the kitchen, skillfully preparing the water, when Grace Parker, freshly finished with her shower, entered the kitchen. Seeing the lights on, she came over. When she saw Ethan heating water, she asked, "Are you cooking something?" "I'm boiling water." "For washing?" "There's still hot water in the kettle." "I checked. There isn't much left." Victoria Harper hasn't washed up yet. She's sensitive to the cold, so she needs to soak her feet. So that's what it was for. Grace Parker couldn't help but wonder, if Victoria Harper didn't exist, would she and Ethan have a chance to reconcile? "It seems like you really like Victoria Harper." "Yeah, I really like her." Ethan didn't hide his feelings, directly saying what was on his mind. He really liked Victoria Harper. When he said this, his eyes were like melting snow. Grace Parker felt a sharp pang in her heart. She had seen Ethan's expression when he was in love, so she knew how deeply he cared for Victoria Harper. A person's heart is limited, and his heart was entirely filled with Victoria Harper, leaving no space for anyone else. "Are you sure? You're not changing your mind?" Grace Parker asked, her hands trembling. "I'm sure. This will never change," Ethan said slowly, every word serious. With her background, don't you feel there's a huge gap between you two? "There's definitely a gap, but I don't see it as pressure. Plus, she doesn't mind me, so what else can I say?" Ethan was calm, holding on to the mindset that as long as he was happy, that was enough. Thinking too much about complicated things would only bring him discomfort. What was true love? Perhaps it was when you could be yourself in front of that person, without feeling inferior, yet without needing to flaunt superiority, maintaining a natural and peaceful state. You would feel genuinely happy for their successes and genuinely pained by their failures. When Ethan talked about Victoria Harper, he relaxed, a smile unconsciously appearing on his lips as he thought of her. Grace Parker nodded, understanding his feelings. She knew Ethan's heart, but she couldn't honestly wish them happiness. At 10 p.m., the director handed out phones and asked them to send DM matches. This was the kind of content the Twitch streaming audience loved to see. As soon as they heard about the DM matches, viewers who were planning to sleep rushed to find a Twitch chat. Everyone wanted to see if the couple's feelings had changed after months of separation. But based on how the 6 of them were interacting today, it seemed unlikely. Longtime fans knew that Ethan was the heartthrob of the show, with all 3 female guests liking him, leaving no room for anyone else. The messages were soon sent, and, as expected, everything went according to the fans' predictions. Ethan received 3 love messages, while each of the 3 female guests received 1. Victoria Harper looked at the message Ethan sent her, just 3 plain words, "Go to sleep early." Ethan looked at the 3 messages and could easily tell who had sent them. Victoria Harper, "Hope you have a warm winter." Grace Parker. In the last week, I hope we can get along well and say goodbye properly. Olivia Bennet. What Christopher Foster said was nonsense. You're great. You're not wrong. I believe in you. Ethan turned off his phone and handed it to the staff. The bedroom cameras weren't left on all night for privacy reasons and were turned off before bed. The winter night was quiet, the only sound being the wind. In such a white noise environment, it was easy to fall asleep, but Ethan couldn't seem to. Habits were truly powerful. They had only been living together for a short while, but he wasn't used to sleeping alone either. He kept feeling like he needed to hold something. There was another reason he couldn't sleep. Victoria Harper had said she would come to his room at night and asked him to leave the door open. Though he had already turned her down, he still didn't lock the door, just in case. The bed had already been warmed by Ethan, and all the guests, including the staff, had gone to rest. After waiting for a long time without hearing anything, just when he thought Victoria Harper wouldn't come, the door made a sound. Ethan sat up, turned on a flashlight instead of the light, and saw Victoria Harper crack the door open, peeking her head out. She silently asked through the flashlight beam, "Can I come in?" She had already opened the door, but she still asked if she could come in. What's more, after speaking, she gave him a pleading look, as if she would stand there and cry all night if he didn't let her in. Ethan's heart melted, and he walked over, taking her cold hand and leading her into the room, tucking her into his blankets. Victoria Harper looked at him. "Don't worry. There's no one outside. Grace Parker is asleep. No one will find out. I'll get up early tomorrow and sneak back. After all, this isn't the first time I've done something like this." That was true. She had crawled into his tent before. "Sleep. I'll wake you up in the morning." Ethan lay down next to her, pulling her into his arms, instantly feeling at ease. Victoria Harper closed her eyes, finding a comfortable spot in his arms. "Your bed is so warm. Without you, I really can't sleep. Actually, I don't sleep well either." Victoria Harper smiled secretly, then suddenly leaned up to kiss him on the lips. "Good night, kiss." Ethan held the back of her head, deepening the kiss. In the morning, Victoria Harper was already awake before Ethan had to call her. She rubbed her eyes and asked, "What time is it?" "Not yet 6. No wonder it's still dark outside. I'm going first." If it weren't for the show, she would have stayed in bed. Ethan got up too, put a coat on Victoria Harper, and after fixing her hair, couldn't help but kiss her forehead. "It's still early. You can sleep a bit more after you go back." "I can't sleep." "Then lie down and rest." "And you?" "I'll make breakfast." "What do you want to eat?" "I want spicy Cajun pasta." "Can you make it?" "We have flour. I can make it." Ethan answered as he walked her to the door. Since it was still early, all the guests were still asleep, and the staff hadn't started working. After seeing Victoria Harper off, Ethan went back to his room. The bed still had some warmth in it. He quickly got dressed and went to the kitchen to prepare the dough. By the time everyone else woke up and wondered what they would have for breakfast, Ethan was already done. Even Christopher Foster, who disliked him, couldn't help but praise Ethan's cooking. "It's really good." Because of last night's incident, the atmosphere was a bit tense today. Victoria Harper looked at Christopher Foster eating the noodles and smiled at him, as if saying, "What right do you have to eat?" This made Christopher Foster hesitate to take more, and in the end, he didn't eat enough and could only drink more soup. At that moment, he regretted his impulsive words from last night. From what Ethan said, it seemed like he knew something about his personal life, which made Christopher uneasy, fearing that his secrets would be exposed. During breakfast, the director announced the task for the day. Christmas Eve was approaching, so they would decorate Oak Ridge Retreat and could also start buying New Year's goods. Olivia Bennet suggested, "Since it's Christmas Eve, let's cut down a tree to make a Christmas tree." Victoria Harper was more interested in who would team up with whom to buy New Year's goods, but the director didn't let her have it her way and decided to have a drawing to determine the teams. The team is divided into pairs of 2 and groups of 4. The pairs are responsible for buying decorations, and the groups of 4 are tasked with buying ingredients. When the lottery results came out, Ethan and Olivia Bennet were assigned to the same group. Olivia couldn't hide her small joy upon seeing the slip in her hand, mentally cheering herself on. She had so much she wanted to say to Ethan, but had never found the right opportunity. Now, she finally had one. Victoria Harper was also leaving, but in the opposite direction of Ethan. The wind outside was cold, and she didn't like wearing scarves, claiming they choked her neck. Ethan watched as she struggled to put her scarf on crookedly, then reached over to adjust it for her. "Where are your gloves?" "Do I need gloves too?" "Aren't you going to bring a bag for your things? Your hands will get cold out there." Their intimate gestures were caught on a Twitch livestream. Although some felt that their current relationship didn't seem to match, they were still captivated by the scene. It was a picture of calm, untroubled moments, and no one wanted to interrupt. "Ethan, are you ready? Let's go." Olivia Bennet broke the silence. coming. Before leaving, Ethan didn't forget to remind Victoria Harper, "Be careful on the road." "All right, you two." They had been recording for a while, and the director had asked them to buy more ingredients, hosting a barbecue cookout to treat the Oak Ridge community. Ethan carefully calculated how many people would attend. With only a small population, they could invite around 20 or 30 people. Adding themselves and the staff, they would need at least 10 tables, which was no small number. Ethan wrote a list of ingredients for Victoria Harper and the others to follow, so nothing would go wrong. Of the 6 of them, only Ethan knew how to cook, and, as the director, everyone listened to him. On the street, Ethan went over the shopping list again. Olivia Bennett quietly followed behind him. Now, Olivia no longer needed the child psychology approach. She didn't require praise or persuasion. She simply did whatever was asked of her. Time passed quickly as they worked through the afternoon, and Olivia began rubbing her arms. She didn't say anything, but she must have been tired. Conveniently, there was a bubble tea stand nearby, so Ethan bought her a cup of bubble tea and an egg cake. "Eat something," he said. "How did you know I was hungry?" she asked. "I saw you rubbing your stomach a few times." She hadn't expected Ethan to be so attentive, noticing even the smallest of gestures. Did that mean he actually cared about her? Ethan was paying attention to her. Olivia Bennett took the bubble tea and egg cake from his hands, but she hesitated to start eating. Ethan assumed she was concerned about the calories. The bubble tea is with less sugar, and the egg cake isn't high in calories, so you can eat it without worry. "Thank you." Olivia Bennett smiled happily, took a big sip of the bubble tea, and ate a large bite of the egg cake. Afterward, she felt energized and began to think about how to start a conversation with Ethan. "Is there another date coming up?" she asked. Ethan shook his head. "I'm not sure." The director didn't say. "You've already gone on dates with Victoria Harper and Grace Parker. If there's another one, could you go on a date with me?" Olivia Bennett looked at him nervously, waiting for his response. "I don't want to date. If I were to date, I'd be with Victoria Harper." Olivia Bennett's heart skipped a beat. It took her a long time to ask, "Why wouldn't you want to date me?" Ethan replied seriously, "Because I like Victoria Harper. I have someone else in my heart. Would you really be happy if I dated you instead?" She wasn't happy, but she couldn't let go of her feelings. It seemed Ethan had forgotten the live stream cameras were still rolling as he spoke bluntly, shattering Olivia Bennett's illusions. Olivia Bennett lowered her head, biting her bubble tea straw, staring at her shoes, avoiding the cameras, desperately trying to hide the tears threatening to spill from her eyes. In the last 2 months, Christopher has often sought out Benjamin Harper. Benjamin admires him, saying he's impressive for starting a game company at such a young age with a professional team. Benjamin Harper has praised Christopher more than he's ever praised me. In his eyes, I'm the least capable one. I don't have my sister's education, and I'm not as smart or capable as my younger brother. In the family, I'm the one no one likes. Even my brother looks down on me. I've liked singing and dancing since I was little, but they forced me to study piano and painting. They enrolled me in math Olympiad classes. I tried to please them by working hard to learn, but I couldn't grasp things I didn't understand. Benjamin Harper thought I was a failure and didn't want to waste any more effort on me. The year of the college entrance exams, I secretly applied to an art school and later joined a talent show after meeting a scout. Benjamin Harper called me a useless actress. My sister looked down on me, and my mom just told me to be obedient and not to pursue unrealistic dreams. Everyone thought I wouldn't make it, but I was determined to prove them wrong. I debuted in a girl group, with no help from my parents, relying entirely on fan votes. On debut night, all my teammates' families came, but mine didn't. When I went home, they wouldn't let me in. My brother laughed at me holding the game console I bought for his 10th birthday, mocking me just like before. He said he didn't play games anymore and told me I wasn't welcome. He said I embarrassed him because my acting skills had made it to the Twitter trends, making him lose face at school. Olivia Bennett poured out everything she had been holding inside, things she had never shared publicly since her debut. She had always carried the title of Second Miss Angia, and netizens labeled her as a capitalist, a spoiled actress who used her connections to enter the industry. But in reality, everything she had achieved, she did on her own, without relying on Angia's power. It had never been easy for her, and she was more criticized than praised. She had used her spoiled, rebellious persona to cover up her deep-seated insecurity. The image of a tough, sharp-tongued, rich girl had become her public persona. While no one liked her, no one dared to bully her either. After joining this show, Benjamin Harper started paying some attention to me. When he learned about Christopher, he thought he'd be a good match for me. In his eyes, a girl like me, with so many flaws, could never find a good family. Olivia Bennett's voice was hoarse, and if you listened closely, you could hear the faint hint of sob. "Ethan, Do you think someone like Christopher could marry me? You shouldn't ask me, Ethan said. You should ask yourself. You should really ask yourself. Are you willing to marry Christopher? Olivia Bennet was stunned, looking at Ethan, feeling weak all over, as if all the blood had rushed to her head. She bit her lip, her eyelashes trembling uncontrollably. Ethan looked at her with red eyes and continued. You don't want to, do you? Just like when you were a kid and your parents asked you to learn Math Olympiad. You just couldn't do it, and you weren't happy. If you had chosen the school your dad arranged for you after the college entrance exam and let you study finance, do you think you would be happy? No. Going to the audition was your own choice. Do you regret it? No. Actually, you already know what to choose. Looking at your choices at every important juncture, as long as you're happy and willing, then you haven't chosen wrong. Follow your own heart. You're the one who knows yourself best. Olivia Bennet forced a smile. You may not believe it, but before, in order to test you, I deliberately got very close to Christopher, just to see if you had any feelings for me. After knowing that you and Victoria Harper were together, I gave up on myself, thinking of just letting things go. Since my dad thinks he's a good man, then I'll marry him. Anyway, I'll get married when I reach the right age, and Christopher isn't bad. Since I can't marry the person I love, it doesn't matter who I marry. I'll just treat marriage as a goal and make do for the rest of my life. Ethan suddenly asked, Do you like me? Olivia Bennet felt as though she had been punched in the nose, a sharp ache spreading through her, and tears immediately began to flow. She quickly wiped her face and sniffed. So what if I like you? Is liking you a shameful thing? What's with that expression on your face? It's not. What do you like about me? Ethan wasn't stupid. He could tell Olivia Bennet liked him, but he found it strange. When he had been with Amelia Harper before, Olivia Bennet had always disliked him. As soon as he appeared, she would belittle him, saying he wasn't worthy of Amelia. He hadn't done anything after joining this show, right? Olivia Bennet had studied facial expression analysis and could probably guess what Ethan was thinking. I probably liked you a long time ago. When you were with Amelia Harper, seeing how good you were to her, I was very envious. I only blame myself for not being able to recognize love back then. I apologize for the bad things I said to you. I'm sorry. I didn't take it to heart. Ethan said, Have you ever thought that maybe you just lack love? Not that you like me? Because you've lacked love since you were a child. You don't have a sense of security. You envy Amelia Harper for being liked by so many people, and you want that too. You just happen to focus your attention on me. That's not true. Olivia Bennet shook her head vigorously. Maybe that's how it was at first, but slowly, you became the most special person in my heart. I can't help but think of you, dream of you, and I feel annoyed and guilty for the things I did to hurt you before, regretting not doing it sooner. I feel sad when I see you being good to Victoria Harper. To prove whether I like you or not, I found Christopher and compared things. I even went to see a psychologist and took tests. Ethan, you are so good, it's just that I realized it too late. Her vision blurred completely, and no matter how much she wiped her face, she couldn't dry her tears. Olivia Bennet never thought she would cry so pathetically in front of Ethan. The worst part was there were so many people watching in the Twitch chat. If her dad saw it, she would definitely get scolded when she went home, being told she was shameless for pursuing a man and should just please Victoria Harper. She was stealing the same man as Victoria Harper. Even if she couldn't win him, she was crying so hideously, ruining the face of Harper Enterprises. Because of chronic lack of love, Olivia Bennet's personality was awkward and proud. She couldn't admit her feelings when she liked someone. Now that she was crying, it was enough to show that she had opened her heart, and she was truly hurt. Olivia Bennet sobbed, and Ethan handed her the tissue he had. Olivia Bennet took it with trembling hands, turned her back to him, and blew her nose. Her nose and eyes were red from crying. Am I very ugly like this? Not ugly, very real, and very likable. Ethan still treated her the same as before, not seeing her as a woman because of her confession. His tone was still that of a child who needed comforting. Although Olivia Bennet liked it, she also felt weak. Olivia Bennet asked, How much do you like Victoria Harper? Ethan replied, I won't marry anyone but her. What if she doesn't want you? Then I'll be alone. Don't consider anyone else. I won't consider anyone else. Ethan shook his head. He was resigned to a life of loneliness. He had originally prepared to grow old alone, but Victoria Harper had entered his heart. She's my unexpected joy. I have two plans, either to marry her and grow old together, or to grow old alone. Maybe it was a bit exaggerated, but that was how he felt at this moment. Just like in his past life with Victoria Harper, whenever her name came up, his heart would race, his spirits would lift. He thought he couldn't love her more than today, but he had thought that yesterday as well. Minute by minute, day by day, the joy she brought him had become an unshakable part of his life. His few words blocked all the options Olivia Bennet had. She couldn't help but blow her nose in front of him, losing all sense of pride, because she had realized that no matter what she did, Ethan would never like her. Victoria Harper is so lucky to have met you. You're wrong. I'm the luckiest to meet her. Olivia Bennet's heart was filled with bitterness. But after saying it, she felt much better. Though there was still regret, at least her heart wasn't as tormented. She clutched the tissue in her hand, stood up straight, took a deep breath, and said, "Last question, those compliments you gave me before, were they sincere or just for show?" "Half and half. I praise you sincerely, but I also wanted to send you off to do something." Ethan had not lied to her even halfway. Olivia Bennet didn't know whether she should be happy or angry. "Okay, no matter how much you praise me in the future, I won't help you with anything." Olivia Bennet snorted, suppressed her sadness, and lifted her chin. In that moment, she transformed back into her proud persona. Ethan smiled. The two had broken the ice and said everything that needed to be said. They couldn't be lovers, but at least they could be friends. After buying everything, Ethan sent her into the Harper limousine. Avoiding the cameras, Ethan reminded Olivia Bennet, "Christopher's family is complicated. You can send someone to investigate it. For you, his intentions aren't pure. Don't worry, I'm not stupid." Olivia Bennet opened the car door and sat in the passenger seat. "My dad wants Christopher to marry into our family. In terms of ability, he's not bad, but I don't like him, and I don't want to settle. I'd rather grow old alone with him. I believe I will find someone better than you in the future." Ethan always says he's not bothered by it, but she still clings to the past. If only she could distinguish right from wrong. If only she had noticed her feelings for Ethan sooner and stood by his side instead of speaking harshly to him. Maybe, just maybe, she could have gotten closer to his heart like Victoria Harper did. While out shopping for supplies, Ethan didn't forget to pick up a gift for Victoria Harper. Olivia Bennet watched as Ethan lingered at a flower shop, carefully selecting several kinds of flowers. In his hands, different flowers seemed to come together harmoniously. The better Ethan was, the harder it became for Olivia Bennet to let go. She imagined herself in Victoria Harper's place, thinking how lucky she would be to find such a man. Olivia Bennet said sourly, "You still remember to buy flowers for Victoria Harper, huh? Love needs to be kept fresh. Occasional little surprises and romance make her feel secure. If she's happy, then I'm happy. Has Victoria Harper done this for you? She's done much more. Victoria Harper isn't someone who loves romance. She just happens to like Ethan. So no matter what he gives her, she's happy." Watching Ethan holding the flowers, Olivia Bennet felt a pang in her chest. Could she ever meet a man better than Ethan? After Ethan and Olivia Bennet finished shopping, there were only a few staff members left at Oak Ridge Retreat. Victoria Harper and the others hadn't returned yet. After bringing in the items, Ethan began cooking. The rice was steaming, and for lunch, they were having beef stew with green beans. The stew simmered on low heat, and Ethan asked Olivia Bennet to watch over it while he went outside to tidy up the yard. He also added some firewood to the kitchen. Since they were hosting a meal, there were a lot of preparations to make. Tables and kitchenware were needed. Ethan temporarily built a few stoves outside with bricks, borrowing tables and benches from the neighbors. The barbecue cookout would be impossible with just the 6 of them. Ethan was the only one who could cook, and the others could only help out. Ethan quickly thought of a solution. He found a few staff members who could cook. If the production crew didn't want to help, then the barbecue cookout wouldn't happen. With the money spent and the ingredients bought, the director naturally deferred to Ethan's arrangements. Meanwhile, even though they were in groups of 4, they still divided into 2 teams. Victoria Harper and Grace Parker were responsible for buying the spices, while Christopher Foster and Logan Prescott were tasked with purchasing the meat. Avoiding the cameras, Grace Parker found an opportunity to speak with Victoria Harper. "You weren't in your room last night, were you, with Ethan?" Victoria Harper nodded. She hadn't deliberately avoided Grace Parker. After hearing that there was no noise outside, she got up and went to the door. When she heard Grace Parker shifting, she knew she was still awake. "Aren't you afraid someone will find out? What's there to be afraid of?" Grace Parker was furious at Victoria Harper's indifferent attitude, but she suppressed her anger and spoke in a low voice. "You went to Ethan's room in the middle of the night, and if someone caught it on Twitch livestream, have you thought about the impact it would have on Ethan? But do you not care at all?" Victoria Harper didn't answer directly, but asked, "Do you know I invested in this show?" Grace Parker froze for a moment, then took a deep breath. "I know you're powerful, but do you think you can silence the internet? Have you seen how many people are saying Ethan's living off you now? They say he's being kept by you, a rich woman, using his looks. Have you ever defended him online? You're still filming, and if anything gets out on Twitter, every move you make will be magnified. Don't take the NDA clauses lightly." If I didn't take them seriously, I wouldn't have gone in the middle of the night and returned before dawn. Grace Parker, who liked Ethan, naturally thought from his perspective. Victoria Harper asked, "Do you think Ethan and I have too big a gap and that it will hurt him?" Grace Parker didn't answer, and her silence spoke volumes. Victoria Harper let out a light laugh. "Wasn't that how you felt before, when you thought the difference between your families was too great? That's why you silently left him, thinking it was the best for him. You thought that by walking away, you were doing him a favor, but your subconscious hurt him, and in turn, it hurt you. Not everyone is like you, Grace. Not everyone will retreat just because of this. I'm not saying you were wrong. Everyone has their own views, but with actions like yours, you two could never be together." When Grace Parker met Victoria Harper's cold gaze, her face turned pale. She swallowed, and her voice was quiet. "Victoria Harper, not everyone is as lucky as you. You were born with everything, and you founded Yang Group at such a young age. I don't have your talent. I admit I'm insecure and weak. I'm self-centered, but my love for Ethan isn't any less than yours. I'm bringing this up because I'm afraid Ethan will get hurt. I know you can protect him, but can you protect him forever? A person's reputation is important, and because I've experienced online harassment, I know how terrifying it can be. Ethan isn't struggling now, but what about later? Now that he's with you, many people look down on your relationship and put him down. As an outsider, it's painful to watch, let alone Ethan, who's caught in the public eye. That sense of disparity can kill all enthusiasm, make someone question themselves, and sink into frustration and insecurity. Grace Parker, as an actress, has a strong sense of empathy and tends to think things will go wrong. Victoria Harper exhaled lazily and said seriously, "Ethan has always believed that you could become an international movie star, so please believe in him too. Ethan never wanted my protection, and he's not someone who just hides from inner struggles. He's strong. He'll be my equal. He'll surpass me." Grace Parker was caught off guard as she gazed into Victoria Harper's eyes. Her eyes were as bright as the stars, and when she spoke of Ethan, her expression was filled with pride. This kind of expression couldn't be faked. Grace Parker's heart skipped a beat, and she suddenly understood why Ethan had so firmly chosen Victoria Harper. The difference between her and Victoria Harper was too great, not in material things, but in spirit. Being with someone as confident as Victoria Harper must make it hard to ever feel insecure. Victoria Harper is like a vine on a cliff that can save you, an oasis of hope in the desert. Ethan deserves someone as amazing as her. "I'm sorry, I overthought it. You're right, Ethan's not me. He's been through so much, and now he's finally found someone he likes." Grace Parker smiled bitterly. "You and Ethan are a perfect match. I believe you two will make it. As for me, once the show's over, I plan to go abroad. I don't want to disappoint the expectations he had of me." Ethan had said more than once that she would conquer the world and stand at the peak to receive glory. Acting was Grace Parker's gift. She shouldn't be limited to love. If she was going to love, she should love herself first. No one is irreplaceable, whether Ethan was there or not. She could live just fine, though it would be a little less happy and a bit regretful. But life, after all, is full of regrets. One wrong step, and it's a path of mistakes. What she could do was not to interfere and quietly watch Ethan live a happy life from a distance. "Sorry, I shouldn't have doubted your feelings. It's good that you can admit your mistake. But still, thank you for liking my Ethan. Don't worry, he'll be better and better in the future." Victoria Harper's words broke the ice. Grace Parker bounced between comforting herself and being defensive, finally letting go. After buying things and returning home, Ethan had just finished cooking. As soon as she entered the door, the smell of food greeted her. When Ethan saw Victoria Harper return, he went to help carry the items. The weather was cold, so the groceries didn't need to go in the fridge. They'd be used tomorrow. "Are you tired?" Ethan took the bag from Victoria Harper's hands. "Not really. I made sweet rice balls with bourbon glaze. Go ahead and have some. I'll drink with you later." Ethan didn't say much more, and after the car's contents were unloaded, he naturally handed the flowers he'd bought to Victoria Harper. Such a gesture sparked comments in Twitch chat, with some calling it romantic, others saying Ethan was a simp. But in truth, if it were them, an attractive, wealthy, kind woman, they'd probably simp too. In this environment, receiving a bouquet like this was quite a pleasant surprise. "You bought flowers? How many? Just this one? What? Do you think others could get one too?" Flowers couldn't be given out carelessly. He knew Victoria Harper only liked unique things, so the flowers he gave her couldn't go to anyone else. Victoria Harper smiled, an alluring glance from the corners of her eyes, her tone slow. "I'm afraid others might get one too. There's no one else." After a brief moment of intimacy with Victoria Harper, The atmosphere in Twitch chat hit its peak. The visual of a handsome man and a beautiful woman made it easy to root for them. After lunch, Ethan, as the team leader, assigned tasks. First, they'd eat, then borrow tables and pots for the barbecue cookout. Ethan hadn't done a barbecue before, but many in the Oak Ridge community knew how. When they heard the production crew was going to treat them to a meal, everyone eagerly volunteered to help and suggest ideas. Initially, it seemed like a hassle, but it wasn't as hard as expected when they got started. Many hands made light work. Uncle Miller and the fishermen were invited too. The fishermen brought a steamer, and Uncle Miller, hearing they were setting up a Christmas tree, said they could chop down trees from the mountains. Ethan's popularity was fully on display as everyone greeted him warmly, clapping him on the back and chatting with him. After 2 busy days with barely any rest, they finally finished the barbecue cookout, and there were 3 days left before the event countdown. Those 3 days coincided with Christmas Eve and Christmas. The temperature dropped to its lowest point, but Ethan still left the door open, and after warming the bed, Victoria Harper would arrive soon. Ethan knew that Victoria Harper's mother had passed away on Christmas Eve. He didn't want her to associate that day with pain. "What do you want to eat today? How about some cake? We have an oven. I want apple crumble." The apple crumble in her memory was the one her mother made for her just before she died. The red syrup on the apples looked like blood, and though it wasn't very tasty, it was overwhelmingly sweet. After eating it once, she never had it again. "Can you make it?" "No, but I can learn." Ethan searched for apple crumble recipes on his phone and chose a reliable-looking video to follow. The tree Uncle Miller had chopped down was delivered and trimmed. It actually looked like a Christmas tree. Olivia Bennett eagerly hung ribbons and lights on it, and Grace Parker helped with the decorations. The whole atmosphere was festive. In addition to the apple crumble, Ethan also baked pizza and made a large cake. Ethan had a natural talent for cooking. The first time he made apple crumble, it turned out perfectly, and it looked remarkably like the one Victoria Harper remembered. When the red syrup cooled, it hardened and gleamed, making it visually appealing. Everyone gathered around the table, and the camera zoomed in on several shots. Grace Parker and Olivia Bennett both stared at the apple crumble. Though Ethan didn't explicitly say it was for anyone, they all knew that the most special cake was meant for Victoria Harper. Logan Prescott was the first to reach for a piece. He had been running around, carrying trees, and was starving. Seeing the cake, he immediately reached for the most visually appealing apple crumble. He thought, eating apples on Christmas Eve symbolized peace and joy. Though the cake was small, a bite for each person would be enough to celebrate. "Let's divide this cake." Just as his hand was about to land, someone stopped him. Olivia Bennett said, "Don't touch it." Grace Parker added, "That's not for you." Logan Prescott froze, unsure of what had happened. "Isn't it for everyone?" Ethan brought the large cake to the table. "Eat this one. The other one is for Victoria Harper." Logan finally understood and awkwardly withdrew his hand. "Good thing you stopped me. I almost ruined it." How many people were touched by this scene? No one knew. Grace Parker kept her head down, fiddling with her fork. Olivia Bennett stood up. "I'll go call Victoria Harper out to eat the cake." Victoria Harper, unaware of what was happening, was called out. The large cake had already been divided, and in front of her was the most exquisite apple crumble. Victoria Harper had known Ethan would make her an apple crumble, so she wasn't too surprised, but she was certainly happy. She took the small spoon Ethan handed her, scooped a bite, and the taste was sweet and pleasant, without the cloying, unpleasant flavor of her memory. For years, she had avoided apple-based foods, subconsciously thinking they were too hard to swallow. But in reality, it wasn't the apples that were bad. It was the memories. She continued to eat, bite after bite, replacing the taste of the past with a new sweetness. Only the fragrant sweetness remained in her mind. Ethan kept saving her again and again. The first time being 7 years ago. To ensure Victoria Harper had a beautiful Christmas Eve, Ethan bought fireworks out of his own pocket and had them transported from the city. When Olivia Bennett heard about the fireworks, even she, usually gloomy, became excited. She had only seen fireworks before, but never set them off herself. There were so many fireworks, enough to last for half an hour, and they practically filled the entire courtyard. Hearing there'd be fireworks tonight, everyone from the Oak Ridge community came. On a wonderful day like Christmas Eve, some were joyful, some were melancholic. The happiest person was undoubtedly the director. Without spending an extra dime, he'd maxed out the show's impact. The moment the fireworks went off, it instantly topped Twitter trends. Ethan had bought a lot. Besides the display fireworks, there were also sparklers and such, so the entire production crew could join in the fun. The originally dark and cold night warmed up in that instant. Everyone was having a great time. Apart from the sound of fireworks, the air was filled with laughter. Victoria Harper stood at the doorway, head tilted up, watching the fireworks bloom in the sky. In previous years, at this time, she would go alone to Greenwood Memorial Park to pay respects to her mother, leaving in the morning and returning at night to eat a bowl of noodles by herself in her cold, empty home. But this year, Ethan was with her. He'd made her a delicious apple crumble and even put on a fireworks show for her. She casually turned her head and instantly met Ethan's eyes. She was watching the fireworks, and Ethan was watching her. Ethan asked, "Are the fireworks beautiful?" Victoria Harper nodded, a bit dazed. In a corner where no one could see, Ethan took Victoria Harper's hand. A word, a look, and in that instant her heart felt like it had been gently, so gently, stung by a bee. As the fireworks soared and bloomed, in those eyes that had met hers countless times, Victoria Harper saw herself. Reflected in the fireworks' afterglow, Ethan's eyes were exceptionally bright, and her image within them seemed to light up too. The next second, she heard Ethan say, "You're more beautiful than the fireworks." Everyone knew this fireworks display was Ethan's doing for Victoria Harper, so they were all tactful enough not to disturb the two of them. Grace Parker and Olivia Bennet huddled together. In just a few short days, they had gone through similar experiences. The two, who previously couldn't stand each other, had now made peace, even developing a sense of camaraderie born from shared misfortune. Olivia Bennet lit 2 sparklers with a lighter and asked Grace Parker beside her, "Want one?" Grace Parker wasn't as outgoing as Olivia Bennet. She was usually very quiet, only becoming talkative when she was with Ethan. Wordlessly, Grace Parker took the sparkler from Olivia Bennet and joined her in drawing circles in the air. "Don't look back. Ethan and her are behind us," Olivia Bennet reminded her pointedly. Grace Parker shot her a cool glance. Halfway through their fun, Olivia Bennet couldn't help but sigh and ask directly, "It's the last day for confessions. Are you going to confess to Ethan?" Olivia Bennet thought Grace Parker wouldn't answer, but after a long moment, she heard her say, "I will. Consider it a final farewell." She knew Ethan would definitely reject her, but she still wanted to see this through to the end, to give this relationship a proper conclusion. Olivia Bennet's legs grew tired, so she squatted down, watching the light and shadows on the ground. "Me too. You gotta have goals, right? What if? Actually, compared to Victoria Harper, I'm not that bad, am I?" Grace Parker didn't coddle her at all. There's a pretty big gap. "Hey," Olivia Bennet looked up and glared at her. "I'm already miserable. Can't you say something nice to comfort me? On this show, you all got to go on dates with Ethan except for me. I was hoping that after rejoining the production crew, I could go on a date with him, see if I could change things, but he didn't give me a chance at all. It's so hard for me to finally like someone." Olivia Bennet's voice grew softer and softer, until finally, a suppressed sob could be heard in her throat. "Compared to me, you're lucky. At least you dated Ethan, and you were his first love. Unlike me, I have nothing." Back then, she truly had been lucky. It was just her own fault for not being able to hold on. Comparing herself to Olivia Bennet, it was really hard to say who would be luckier in the future. Olivia hadn't been with Ethan, so she could still be friends with him. As for her, even seeing him once would be difficult. Grace Parker, crying? Olivia Bennet sniffled. "I'm not crying. The smell of fireworks is too strong. It's irritating my nose and caught in my throat. My throat's uncomfortable. I wouldn't cry at a time like this. How embarrassing." Grace Parker comforted her. "Actually, you're not bad either. You're pretty, have a great figure, you're independent and strong. You've established yourself in Hollywood on your own merit, earning so much money and making a name for yourself without relying on your parents. You're already amazing. Plus, you even know how to cook now. I remember when the show started, you couldn't do anything, couldn't clean, didn't know how to use an induction cooker, couldn't even buy groceries. Look how much you've learned in such a short time. It shows you're very smart. You're still young, with countless possibilities ahead. There are plenty of fish in the sea. You'll meet a good man someday. You now know how to distinguish good from bad. Just keep your eyes open and be more cautious in the future." Olivia Bennet looked up, staring blankly at Grace Parker for a long moment before saying, "You say I'm young, but how much older are you? Just a year, right? If my future has countless possibilities, yours does too. You're right, there are good men out there in the world. It just takes time to meet them." Olivia Bennet couldn't resist looking back at the couple behind them, her eyes stinging even more. "I used to think Ethan and Victoria Harper weren't a good match. Victoria Harper is such a formidable woman. Ethan would surely feel pressured, and then I could swoop in when there was an opening. If Ethan could be so easily swayed or taken advantage of, would you still really like him?" Olivia Bennet thought about it carefully and shook her head decisively. "No." Grace Parker smiled. "Exactly. We like Ethan precisely because he's so serious and steadfast in his feelings, uninfluenced by external factors. He likes Victoria Harper completely for who she is. He wouldn't back down because she's formidable, nor would he leave her if she were weak. Ethan would only strive to improve himself, ensuring there's no gap, no imbalance in his heart. Even if there's pressure, he'd turn it into motivation, constantly growing stronger to stand firmly by Victoria Harper's side. Olivia Bennett looked at the burnt-out sparklers on the ground, her voice hoarse. I know. Grace Parker took out 3 more sparklers, lit them, and held them tightly. Keep a level head. Know when to push and when to pull back. Respect what you've lost. Learn to let go. May everything turn out well. Here's to us. They weren't speaking quietly, and their conversation was captured on the Twitch livestream. They were speaking for themselves, but also for the online viewers. Is Ethan really that good? Actually, you can tell. Apart from not being as skilled at making money as Victoria Harper, you can't find any other faults with him. Throughout these many days of Twitch streaming, his emotions have been stable. He can cook and clean, he knows how to be considerate of others' difficulties, and he instantly notices when Victoria Harper isn't feeling well. That's so rare for a guy. Not to mention respecting elders and caring for the young. Seeing so many people in the Oak Ridge community rate him highly and like him is enough to show Ethan is a genuinely good person. They've all interacted with him directly. To be liked by 3 female guests at the same time is enough to show he's a great guy. Olivia Bennett, for example. We've seen her on other reality shows. She used to have short fuse and low EQ, but around Ethan, she's become so docile and well-behaved. And Grace Parker, too. She's usually so cold, but she only smiles her brightest in front of Ethan. Victoria Harper has made it this far. What kind of person hasn't she met? Do netizens really need to worry for her? Exactly. Netizens should stop trying to stir things up about the young couple. It's Victoria Harper choosing a husband, not you. The haters are just sour grapes. It's not unheard of for the man to be the homemaker and the woman the breadwinner. If I were rich, I want a man like Ethan too, good-looking and considerate. Those people calling Ethan a simp are just jealous because they can't simp for Victoria Harper themselves. The fireworks show lasted a long time, the acrid smell of gunpowder lingering in the air. Viewers on the Twitch chat surpassed 1 million, and clips of it shot up the Twitter trends, reaching even those who didn't follow the show. It was the epitome of romance. Everyone knew this was Ethan's silent confession to Victoria Harper. Meanwhile, Amelia, having lost her job, searched everywhere for new employment, but found nothing. She lacked skills, yet aimed for a job with a monthly salary of $10,000. What company would hire her? Besides, any company that might have considered hiring her was afraid of causing trouble and offending Victoria Harper. Amelia hit a wall at every turn. She hadn't gone out at all around Christmas Eve. At home, she was the one taking care of Benjamin Harper. The caregiver usually just helped Benjamin Harper with bathing, cleaning, and eating, and wouldn't do anything extra. When Amelia was home, she would massage Benjamin Harper. In winter, his skin would get itchy and dry, and Amelia would scratch his itches and apply lotion. Amelia, you're not working today. Amelia sat by the bed, massaging Benjamin Harper's fingers. I'm off these couple of days, resting at home and keeping you company. I'm fine. Work is important. Benjamin Harper still didn't know Amelia had lost her job. Lately, Amelia had been leaving early and returning late, so he assumed she was going to work. Ever since Benjamin Harper's accident, Amelia had only shared good news with him, never the bad, afraid of upsetting him and worsening his condition. At home, she always forced a smile, painting a rosy picture of things that weren't true. She'd tell him how her colleagues helped her at work, how her boss praised her and promised a bigger year-end bonus, how the company cafeteria served great food, with cake and afternoon tea, feasts every day. But in reality, she had been eating cheap bread or a small bowl of noodles these past few days to save money. See, I've even gained some weight lately, Amelia said, rubbing her face. Gaining weight is good. You've worked hard. Amelia, you're amazing. Amelia shook her head, fighting back a bitter pang. She wasn't amazing at all. If she were, she would have sent her father to a professional care facility long ago, and he wouldn't be suffering with her in this cramped little rented apartment. If she were amazing, she would have found a high-paying job by now. Amelia hated herself immensely. Why hadn't she worked harder or been more ambitious before? Only knowing how to spend Harper Enterprises' money on frivolous things. She had called Victoria Harper useless, but in reality, she was the most useless one. If only she had listened to Benjamin Harper back then and started working her way up from the bottom at Harper Tower, she wouldn't be in this situation now, unable to even list any work experience. To live a life like hers was such a failure. Amelia also understood why Benjamin Harper had approved of Ethan back then. Ethan was capable. With him around, Amelia could have maintained her existing lifestyle. Calling him the Harper family's son-in-law was an understatement. He was more like a workhorse. The caregiver was cooking in the kitchen, and Amelia went to help. As she reached the doorway, she heard sounds from the kitchen. The caregiver was leaning against the wall, scrolling through their phone. The screen flashed continuously, and the volume was turned up high. The moment Amelia stepped in, she heard Ethan's voice coming from the phone. Amelia was very sensitive to Ethan's voice. Even amidst the phone's noisy audio, she could distinguish it instantly. "What are you watching?" The caregiver quickly put the phone away. A flicker of subtle embarrassment crossed their eyes when they saw Amelia. "Nothing. I heard Ethan's voice coming from it." She could recognize it just from that fleeting sound. The caregiver confessed, "I'm watching a reality show, a Twitch stream. Love on the Journey?" "Yes, it's about to reach the finale." The caregiver naturally knew about Ethan and Amelia's past, so they usually avoided topics related to it. The finale was coming soon, which meant the whole internet would soon know that Ethan and Victoria Harper were together. Amelia had been busy looking for a job these past few days. She hadn't been following online news, but that didn't mean she hadn't heard anything. She had just been deliberately ignoring it. Now, suddenly hearing Ethan's voice, hearing the caregiver talk about Ethan and Victoria Harper, that sharp pain started again. The wound she thought had healed had never truly closed. This sudden reminder was like tearing off a scab and pouring salt on it, making the wound even worse. Amelia fled the kitchen as if escaping. Back in her bedroom, she threw herself on a bed, first pulling the covers over her head to shut out the world. After a while, she sat up, her hand unconsciously reaching for her phone. She repeatedly unlocked and locked the screen before putting it down again. It felt like two little figures were wrestling in her mind. She stared out the window at the dark sky, and after a long internal struggle, she got up, phone in hand, and, facing the window, searched for the Twitch stream. She didn't even need to search specifically. When she opened the app, she saw it trending. Her fingertips trembled as she tapped on it. The moment the stream loaded, she saw a screen full of fireworks. She had seen fireworks before, even set them off herself, but no one had ever set off a sky full of fireworks just for her. The sound of fireworks exploding came from her phone. She watched the live comments, a stream of wishes scrolling up. "Wishing my family peace and good health. Hope to get rich in the new year. Wishing me and the one I love a long and happy life together. Hoping to find someone next year." Amelia found Ethan and Victoria Harper in a corner of the screen. In an unnoticed corner, the two of them held hands, gazing into each other's eyes. That moment became the most beautiful scene of the night. Amelia could almost feel the warmth of the fireworks and smell the gunpowder in the air, as if she were there. Such a lively scene, yet Amelia, an outsider, could never be part of it. She felt cold, thinking a draft was coming from an open window, but when she checked, the window was shut tight. Amelia's vision suddenly blurred. She hadn't switched to an alt account to enter the Twitch chat, so netizens quickly spotted Amelia. "Am I seeing things? Amelia's in the stream. The ex-fiancée is here? Is she here to give a wedding gift?" Seeing Ethan and Victoria Harper so happy, Amelia must be regretting it big time. Things have changed. If only she knew then what she knows now. If she had respected Victoria Harper or treated Ethan a little better back then, Amelia wouldn't be in this mess. Noticing the live comments were all about her, Amelia's heart tightened. She wanted to leave, but her hand trembled and the phone slipped, crashing to the floor and cracking the screen. Amelia's phone screen shattered. She picked it up. The Twitch stream was still playing. She stared at the crack on the screen, a fissure just like the one between her and Ethan. Replacing the screen would cost hundreds, maybe even over $1,000. For the Amelia of the past, that was just dinner money spent without a second thought. But not anymore. Now, that amount could last her a week, or even half a month if she scrimped and saved. Amelia hadn't even found a job yet. She couldn't bring herself to spend that much on a screen repair. Better to use the money to buy some nourishing food for Benjamin Harper. Fortunately, though cracked, the screen was still usable. Watching the Twitch stream and the live comments had already put Amelia in a foul mood, and this just made things worse. She frowned, her teeth digging in her lower lip so hard she nearly drew blood. The caregiver had already prepared the meal. 2 simple dishes and a soup, all home-style cooking. Nothing special, just enough to fill their stomachs. Benjamin Harper's mouth was crooked, and his bite was weak. He was fed soft foods like lean meat porridge, easy to swallow. Whenever Amelia was home, she was the one to feed him. She'd carefully place a bib on Benjamin Harper, feeding him while wiping his mouth. A single bowl of food took a long time. Amelia was clearly not herself today. Her bad mood was palpable. Benjamin Harper hesitated, then asked, his mouth askew, "Amelia, did something happen? You can tell me." Nothing happened. What was the use of telling him? It wouldn't solve anything. You don't look happy. Happy? After falling from a wealthy heiress to this? It'd be a miracle if I were happy, she thought, but she couldn't say such truths out loud. After feeding Benjamin Harper, the caregiver helped him wash up while Amelia did the dishes. She couldn't resist pulling out her phone and saw her name trending on Twitter. Netizens had dredged up her past again. Everyone knew Harper Enterprises had gone bankrupt. Though Amelia wasn't saddled with debt, she was now burdened with a paralyzed father. Life was undoubtedly hard. Some netizens speculated that Amelia's sudden appearance in the Twitch chat was a bid for attention, to ride Ethan's coattails. Ethan was so popular now. If she latched onto his fame, even negative publicity was still publicity. With traffic, she could start selling products. Amelia read these comments. Selling merchandise through Twitch streaming? She'd never even considered it. She used to look down on internet celebrities and Twitch streamers, thinking they were just clowns grandstanding for attention. Even now, with life so difficult, Amelia hadn't thought of making money through Twitch streaming. She joined the Twitch chat merely to watch, with no intention of clout chasing. If she'd wanted to, she would have done it long ago. Amelia wanted to post a tweet to set the record straight. She typed out the words, then deleted them one by one. An explanation now? Netizens probably wouldn't believe her anyway. After the caregiver finished washing Benjamin Harper, he closed the door and came out, seeing Amelia on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. Benjamin Harper didn't know, but the caregiver knew very well. Amelia was unemployed and busy looking for a job. Given her looks, finding work would be easy if she'd just lower her standards. But her expectations were too high. She wanted a decent job with a monthly salary of $10,000, a comprehensive benefits package, and ample time off. Her applications were like messages in a bottle tossed into the ocean. A $10,000 a month salary required either hard work or genuine skill, and Amelia possessed neither. The caregiver suggested, "Ms. Harper, have you ever considered leveraging your online presence for Twitch streaming and selling merchandise? You could work during the day and stream at night. That reality show is a huge hit. Ethan's trending every day. As his ex, you've got all this potential traffic right there, free for the taking." He meant it as well-intentioned advice, but Amelia was offended, feeling he was insulting her. "I don't know how to do Twitch streaming." "You can learn, can't you? Just take out your phone and start." Netizens love drama anyway. You could stream yourself watching Ethan stream. They'd definitely love that. "I'm not interested." The caregiver wanted to say more, but seeing Amelia's sudden icy expression, he held his tongue. Too proud for her own good, he muttered inwardly. "Your father's practically on his deathbed, and you're still worried about face? Fine, if you don't want the traffic, I'll take it." Amelia tried her best to ignore the online buzz, but she kept hearing people discuss it everywhere. Walking down the street, she saw related billboards, and even the mall's Jumbotron was replaying last night's fireworks show. Looking at the giant Christmas tree at the mall entrance, she suddenly remembered. Yesterday was Christmas Eve, and today was Christmas Day. Because it was Christmas, the malls were all having sales. Today was the Christmas sale. In a couple of days, it would be the New Year's sale. After that would come Thanksgiving promotions, and then those for Lunar New Year's Eve. This year had passed so quickly. Amelia wore a mask, her eyes stinging from the wind. She tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, her hands clenched into fists in her coat pockets. It was so cold, she couldn't feel any festive atmosphere at all. What was she doing this time last year? She remembered now. She'd thrown a party, inviting a dozen friends to her apartment, leaving Ethan to do all the cooking and decorating by himself. Ethan had spent 2 days preparing. The food he made that day received many compliments. He'd even baked a large wedding cake, her favorite, strawberry chocolate. But the wedding cake was hardly touched. Someone grabbed it after she'd had only a small bite, and it ended up smeared on faces and thrown around. The cake was everywhere, on the floor, the walls, the sofa. The once spotless apartment was a complete mess. Drinks were sprayed everywhere, too. That whole table of food Ethan had cooked. They'd praised it to his face, but as soon as he was out of earshot, their expressions turned disdainful. "Amelia, are you looking for a husband or a male nanny? Someone like you could have anyone. Why are we celebrating a perfectly good holiday here? It's so shabby. You used to book out hotels. This food probably only cost about $1,000, right? I'd rather have seafood. Celebrating Christmas at home is boring. Let's go out for karaoke." One comment after another, they swayed Amelia. She'd hesitated at first, looking at all the food on the table that would go to waste. Just give it to the stray dogs downstairs, someone next to her said, dumping a plate of chicken directly into the trash can. Ethan's cooking was delicious, no worse than restaurant food. In fact, she preferred his cooking even to that of Michelin chefs. But her pride wouldn't let her admit it, so she went along with her so-called friends. She went out partying all day and didn't return until 11 at night. The apartment had been cleaned up. Ethan was sitting on the sofa, eating the remnants of the wedding cake that had been ruined earlier. When she returned, he looked up and asked, hungry, want something to eat? Ethan got up and made her a bowl of noodles with a fried egg. The hot noodles warmed her up, chasing away the chill she'd brought in from outside. That was last Christmas. For her, it was just like any other Christmas. But from Ethan's perspective, it must have been a disaster. What had she ever done for him besides cause trouble? An unbidden memory. Her past self. How despicable she had been. The more she tried to forget Ethan's desolate gaze, the more it haunted her. He was clearly unhappy, yet he'd still waited for her to come home and cook her a bowl of noodles. Now, she couldn't have that ordinary bowl of noodles even if she craved it. On this same Christmas Eve, besides the sky full of fireworks, what else had Ethan prepared for Victoria Harper? It had to be more than just a simple bowl of noodles, right? When Ethan loved someone, he wanted to give them the world, all the best things. He was passionate, generous, tender, his heart full of warmth. But Amelia Harper had doused his flames time and time again. Now, finally, someone had appeared who would cup his burning heart in her hands. Amelia Harper didn't go into the mall. Christmas Eve was a work day, and the streets were relatively empty. Amelia Harper wandered aimlessly, drifting towards wherever there were more people. She found herself at a noodle shop with a challenge sign out front. Finish one. 1 pound of spicy Cajun pasta in 10 minutes to win a prize of $188. Amelia Harper stood at the entrance, watching. The shop owner glanced at her a few times, then approached. Are you here for the spicy noodle challenge? Amelia Harper nodded. For the challenge, sit over here. The owner explained the rules. To avoid waste, everyone started with the easiest level. Successfully complete the 1 pound challenge, and you could try 2 pounds next time, then 4 pounds. The more you ate, the bigger the prize money. The owner would film the entire thing. A crowd of onlookers had gathered, cheering and jeering. Amelia Harper suddenly wanted to leave, but it was too late. The owner brought out the noodles, placing a timer on the table. It was a huge bowl, the broth brimming with red chili peppers. It looked incredibly spicy. Amelia Harper had never eaten so many noodles in her life. She wasn't a fan of them. When she ate out, she'd only have a small portion, a double portion at most. This was at least 3 times her usual amount. The owner looked curiously at her masked face. The noodles are ready. Will you eat now, or wait a bit? Amelia Harper picked up her chopsticks and removed her mask. Some people in the crowd recognized her. The owner started the timer. Amelia Harper lowered her head, picked up some noodles, and began to eat. She wasn't hungry at all. 2 bites, and she felt full. The rest was sheer willpower, forcing herself to eat. The noodles were scalding hot and fiercely spicy. Steam billowed into her eyes, and she couldn't tell if it was the spice or the heat, but tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. The bowl of noodles was impossible to swallow. She could only desperately stuff them in her mouth and force them down, almost like self-torture. The jeers of the crowd buzzed in her ears like flies. She couldn't taste the noodles anymore. They were just salty and acrid, making her stomach churn with acid. The bowl of noodles was tasteless and hard to get down. Amelia Harper knew many people were watching her, filming her. She kept her head down, burying her face in the bowl as she ate, her lips burning from the heat. Her stomach was stretched to its limit, feeling like it would burst. Amelia Harper had no idea how many minutes had passed. The noodles in the bowl slowly dwindled, and incredibly, she finished them all. Applause erupted from the crowd. The owner recognized Amelia Harper, thinking, what a stroke of luck, all this free publicity. Can I ask, why were you crying while eating the noodles? Did it remind you of something sad? I saw recently online. Amelia Harper cut him off. It was too spicy and too hot. Did you think the noodles were good? Amelia Harper didn't say anything. She just felt her stomach stuffed with noodles, her whole body heavy. She didn't want to speak, afraid she'd throw up if she opened her mouth. What was the time? Exactly 10 minutes. You successfully completed the challenge. The owner took out $188 and handed it to Amelia Harper. Here's your prize money. Amelia Harper glanced at the money in his hand, then slowly reached out and took it. The owner tried to make small talk. Have you been watching Ethan's reality show? They're supposed to confess their feelings tonight, and the show officially ends tomorrow. Amelia Harper remained silent. She took the money and left quickly, finding a nearby restroom. Soon after she went in, sounds of vomiting could be heard, and if one listened closely, crying too. After throwing up, she squatted for a long time until her legs went numb before slowly standing up. She took out her phone, opened the trending topics, and searched her name. Videos of her tearful noodle challenge were already uploaded, racking up high view counts. It would probably hit Twitter trends soon. Commenters were all saying she was putting on a show, but in reality, she just wanted to eat a bowl of noodles on this day. After today, she would never eat noodles again. Besides the online discussions, new messages also popped up in a group chat she was in. She hadn't paid attention to this group for a long time. After Harper Enterprises ran into trouble, she'd left most of her group chats one by one. The one she hadn't left had been inactive for over 6 months. Once Harper Enterprises went bankrupt, her so-called friends avoided her like the plague. She called and texted them all, begging for help. Every single one of them blocked her. Only then did she realize her past popularity had been built on her wealth. Once the money was gone, so were these friends, flimsier than plastic. She clicked on a few voice messages in the group. Look at the clown. So down on her luck, she's doing street challenges for prize money. 188, that's like sock money. I couldn't stand Amelia Harper even back then. If my dad hadn't told me to get close to her, I wouldn't have bothered pandering to her. The princess got what she deserved. I wish I could have been there to see her make a fool of herself. She's fallen that far? What's she gonna do now? Resort to being an escort? She used to look down on everyone and everything. Now, it's her turn. Amelia Harper texted me a few days ago, asking to borrow money. I pretended I didn't see it. Even if I had money, I wouldn't lend it to her. With that whole Harper Enterprises mess, could she even pay it back? Back in school, I even pursued her. She was so arrogant, with high standards but little ability, always looking down on me. Now, I wouldn't want her even if she were free. How long has this group been dead? Why so many new messages all of a sudden? Who's in here? Is Amelia Harper here? The group chat suddenly fell silent. A few seconds later, Amelia Harper was removed from the group. Amelia Harper let out a self-deprecating laugh. Fair-weather friends are easy to come by. True friends in hardship are rare. When disaster struck, most people just kicked you when you were down. Who could she blame? After all, she used to be that kind of person too. Now, the tables had simply turned. After leaving, Amelia Harper splashed cold water on her face in the restroom. Looking at her pale reflection in the mirror, she almost didn't recognize herself. She put her mask back on, then, clutching the 188 she had, entered a nearby farmer's market. Meanwhile, with Ethan, the atmosphere was warm and joyful. The show was about to wrap up, and there was a touch of reluctance to leave, though this didn't include Victoria Harper. Victoria Harper had had enough long ago. For this reality show, she had to sneak around every night for sleep like a soldier on a covert mission. She wanted to kiss Ethan openly, to hug him and hold his hand, to show off their love on the streets, and tell the whole world they were dating. They heard they were leaving the next day. Community workers came to bid them farewell. The day before, the production crew had treated them to a free meal. Since they didn't contribute money, they brought local specialties as gifts instead. The fisherman saw Ethan and said, "I'm actually going to miss you guys when you leave. Will you be Twitch streaming your wedding ceremony in the future? I'll send you gifts then. That'll be my wedding present." Anyone with eyes could see Ethan and Victoria Harper's relationship. They were like an unannounced married couple.